Now do I have all of the buttons working? The things are in the right place. We have me. We have chat. All of it looks good. Hello. Good afternoon. And if you're in Britain, happy bank holiday day. Where we don't have to go to work. Well, where most of us don't have to go to work. Hello. Are we doing well? Is all good in the world? Well, no, it isn't. And the Games Workshop price rise is incoming. But mostly, things are fine. See, some people are at work. Yeah. Oh, you can play games while chatting about 40k. That is totally fine. I am well aware that when I live stream, I quickly become second monitor content. That is fine. Yes. Hello. Why is it a bank holiday in the UK? Yes, it is. We have 2 holidays in May, and that is really special. And then I think we don't get any more holidays until like December. Or maybe there's something in October. We don't really do potato picking week anymore. That's maybe something just for the kids. That's like the week off from school, where you're meant to go and pick potatoes, but no one picks potatoes because we haven't got an agricultural base that works. Yes, it is also raining. Oh yeah, 4th of July is not a day off. You've just got to do something either before or after work. We get a bank holiday in August. I have just not been paying attention to things. I've also not been aware what day it is. Apparently it's Monday. I wouldn't know because, like, for the last 2 weeks, I've just put out a video every single day. And then YouTube's like, hey, guess why your views are higher than normal? Because you did more videos. Also, find a pace that works for you, and you know, you don't have to work so hard and put out a video every single day. However, we're gonna keep pushing your videos if you keep putting them out every single day. So that explains why the numbers are up. Yeah. Finally got the day off after 55 hours of that's a lot of work. That is a lot of work in a week. Like 40 hours is enough. I know some people who do like all of that in 4 days, and that's quite intense, but then you get 3 days off, which sounds good. I like the idea, but you're exhausted for most of it. Yeah. I've been on that grind mindset. I've been on that, oh no, they released Sisters and Genestealer content. Now I've got to do stuff. I have so many videos that are just on a list. Number 1 video on that list was answer the questions about how demolition charges work. And then the next 9 videos on that list just got shoved off to the side and replaced with let's talk about Genestealer Cult and Battle Sisters. So the next video I do, unless there's some kind of weird mishap or leak or something, will be all about the Sisters of Battle, their battle force, their combat patrol, and how good it is to start Sisters of Battle with them. I do live in fear that every morning I wake up and it's going to be like, oh, I don't need to check the internet until like 10 a.m. today. And then I check it and it's like, yeah, Genestealer Cult Codex was leaked 3 hours ago. Everyone else talked about it except you. It's like, ooh, no. I needed to get on that. So I just hope for once, just for once this edition, the codexes don't get leaked and I can deal with them when they come out. But there's meant to be only 1 week between the 2 codexes getting released. And then we have Mystery Codex, which we still don't really know. We're just vaguely assuming it's something Inquisition, Agents of the Imperium, some assassin models, maybe. Just pull some things from 30k into 40k, or make generic assassins, or steal the Death Cult assassins from the Sisters of Battle and put them in there. We don't know what's going to happen with all the Sisters units, which is unfortunate. Yeah, 1 model per faction except for Marines. I mean, the Tyranids... Oh, last edition they got the flyy, creepy thing. The named Tyranid. And then they had a bunch of stuff at the start of the edition, which was some not lictors, some not biovores, weird tick. I don't know what that's kind of not. Oh yeah, a not Carnifex, but it's definitely a Carnifex. Yeah. Leaking classified documents seems like Games Workshop. Oh, Genestealer Cult move. Uh-huh. I know. That was it. Parasite of Mortrex. Yeah. Oh yeah, Jump Cannoness is a better model than the Stilt Sniper. So we are definitely up as far as Battle Sisters are concerned. And now we're going to have a Cannoness with Jump Pack stick around for several editions. Because 11th edition should be a revision of 10th edition to get rid of some of the weird things in the core rules, because although they update like everything, they don't update the core rules, which is the one document that is there at the start. Come on! That is the easiest thing to fix, and it's all online! Why don't you just fix it? But never mind, never mind. Oh dear. Can't wait until I rip into the beloved Death Guard. Well, maybe. The vote was to start with a Xenos Codex, so that could work. We can do... I'm thinking Orks first. Orcs seems appropriate, and then we'll build to the favourites. The Genestealer Cult and the Sisters of Battle as we get more people in. Yes, Genestealer Cult needing their own super heavy. Well, we have the Imperial Guard super heavies. And I'll have to rewatch the live stream. But I think from what they were saying, it isn't that one detachment allows you to take up to 50% Imperial Guard. It's that Genestealer Cult now will be able to take up to 50% Imperial Guard rather than 25% as Brood Brothers. I think. I have to re-look at it and see what they said and when they say it. But people are generally assuming, oh, there's one detachment which is more Brood Brothers. As like a detachment rule, that's kind of boring. You reckon it was just the one detachment? Maybe. Yeah, I'll have to reconfirm and have a look. But if it isn't, if it is just generally for the army, and I even looked at like the composition of the army, what the steps you do things, it was pick detachment, then pick army. If it was the other way around, I could see very obviously, oh yes, you get up to 50%. Yeah, a lot of people took it as one specific detachment was more Brood Brothers, but as a detachment rule, that's kind of boring. You've got to have more than that. They've got to do something with them, have a bonus for them, give them a key word, make them work. Yeah, it's going to depend very much on how good are the units for the Imperial Guard. So I'm not expecting any Brood Brothers units like we had in 8th edition, where it was the Cult Sentinel, the Cult Russ. Since the new, which is now out for pre-order, Kill Team Termination, their upgrade sprue is just an upgrade sprue. It's just an upgrade sprue. You have to buy some Cadians and the upgrade sprue, and then you get Brood Brothers, which don't look like Brood Brothers, they look like Neophytes, because they have the heads. I don't know if Games Workshop's funded by our suffering, but in the sort of peaky trophy way that things are, we're in one of the bad times, I think, where stuff costs a lot more, we don't get as much, and maybe we can break them and get back to good stuff. Maybe. I think actually the most controversial time for people playing 40k was the switch from 2nd edition to 3rd edition. Because not only did it invalidate all of the army books, including the pretty recent Sisters of Battle, it changed how armies were composed. It used to be 50% of your army could be characters, and at least 25% had to be just infantry units. So if your army was mostly characters, and characters were pretty expensive, this was absolutely hero hammer time. You have a missionary with a melter bomb, they can no problem take down a Chaos Dreadnought. No problem. I mentioned 2nd edition. I know. Yeah. But it really changed how armies work, and suddenly you had the force organization chart, which we all like now, but it was okay, you need 1 HQ and 2 troops. if you didn't have troops, if you'd been relying on, oh, I like assault marines, I'd just have assault marines and a captain or something like that. Right, well now you've got to get more things. You have to buy tactical squads. So that was the biggest upset. 8th edition was a different kind of change. We did get then the Primaris Marines. It did change up the wound chart to be a lot simpler to understand. It's just if it's double, if it's not. Although the previous chart was basically if it's equal, then it's 4+. If it's higher, it's 5+. If it's 2 higher, then it's 6+. Generally. And with weapon skill, it was 4+ unless the enemy is higher, then it's 5+. And if the enemy is more than double your weapon skill, like your weapon skill 2, their weapon skill 5, only then would you hit on a 6. And even then, I don't think you actually got to hit on a 6. Weapon skill was very generous. So having it change to, oh yeah, you just hit on a 3+, isn't too much of a change. They did add a lot of cool things. I mean, 3rd edition codexes were really nice. Space Marines got loads of different... Well, it was probably the first time you got chapter-specific detachments apart from the previous books of like, here's Codex Ultramarines. There was their own codex. Codex Space Wolves, Codex Dark Angels, Codex Blood Angels, and things like that. Oh yeah, you went up to 7 to hit. Yeah, it could get weird. If you played the Old World, the more recent Warhammer the Old World, the weapon skill chart was a lot like that, but for 40k, because at the time, this was just Warhammer, but in space! That was it. It's 40k, Warhammer 40k, Space 40k, Space Warhammer, Space Warhammer. That was it. Yeah. Oh yeah, Codex Witch Hunters was really cool. I know it wasn't the Battle Sisters Codex, but it had, here's all your different things you can have, a different mix of, oh yeah, you want Stormtroopers, have Stormtroopers, you want Inquisitors, have Inquisitors, you don't have to. And then it also had in the back, here's a bunch of scenarios, here's a bunch of rules to add enemies of the Witch Hunters, so you could have like Apostate Cardinals as a unit. Rogue Psykers, which had 5 wounds, in an edition where it was like common for characters and heroes to have 2 wounds. It's fun. It's fun. Welcome to the channel. Demon Hunters I liked less. They had the shiny armor rule. Yeah. That was annoying. Like, you can't shoot them over 24 inches. Or you're -1 to hit. I think it was just you can't shoot them over 24 inches. It was a weird thing. I remember disliking it because of how shiny they are. You cannot actually see where they're coming from. It was a pain. When they wanted to go simple, they looked at 3rd edition. I mean, 4th edition was better. Another problem with 3rd edition was they copied the scenarios from 2nd edition. But 2nd edition, you moved quickly because, like in Warhammer Fantasy, there was march moving. So instead of advance, like we have currently, you just moved at double speed. So Orks would go, well, from 4 inches to 8 inches or 5 inches to 10 inches. Things like that. Once you didn't have that and there was no advance rules, moving to the opposite side of the board got really difficult. If you have 6 turns and you move 6 inches and you need to cover a 36-inch distance, you're barely going to make it. If the enemy doesn't turn up to the fight, you just lose because you have no one to charge and get there faster. Yeah. I don't think the Grey Knights models have changed that much. Oh, they used to be metal. Then they got their one basically plastic kit. I am wanting to look at the Grey Knights quite a bit today because they're like, when I've relooked at their rules, oh, they were interesting. They were interesting, yes. Oh, and the paints were better in the 90s. There is a company that does just nostalgia paints. Can't remember what they're called, and they're not sponsoring me, so I won't look them up. But they were really good. They were really good. Yeah, moving from a game of just kill each other to objectives, that is something I like, which we only really got in 9th edition. Because still in 8th edition, it was if you wipe out your enemy, you win the game. I think 4th edition was probably the best edition. I did an interview, or I had someone interview me, Blythe Mui, That's on the channel. I think it's in the podcast as well. So if you want some more second channel or just background noise, talking about different editions, that's what I do. And I think I decided 4th edition was the best, although I really liked 6th, and not a lot of people like 6th edition. Right. I think that's enough preambling. We've done pre-chatting enough. Because I assume there are some people here because they actually want to hear me talk about the different armies and their strengths and weaknesses. Yeah, 5th was weird. Horus Heresy is based on 6th and 7th edition. At least the first run through of Horus Heresy is based on them. Then we've had a revised version, which is sort of the same, but it brings in some of the reactions that we now have in 10th edition. Yes. Line of sight could be better. Line of sight could be so much better. I could do a whole video. In fact, I have a little draft script of a whole video I could do of what I think we should do for 11th edition. But I can't see it actually happening. Right. What do I want to do? I want to click that button. I want to go to this. I want to go to this. It's not going to let me interact. There we go. We want to talk about the Xenos, not them. Orkses. Going to talk about the Orkses. And I need to get my face out the way. There we go. So we still have chat. We still have my face. We also now have a picture of some orcs. This works. This works. So what do we have for the orcs? Them boys. Oh, yes. I did like the benefit of cover one. I think I have another video that's something like that. Oh yeah, it's going to be about how bullets work in 40k. So that's something to look forward to, but that's like video number 12, and they just keep getting moved back as more and more things get leaked or announced. It's there, it'll happen. So part of me doing a video every single day is just, I want to get through these videos. I want to get them out of my head, onto the paper, and then off the paper, into the videos. It'll happen. Right, so when I'm talking about all of these different factions, I'm not talking about who would win in a fight, who would win in the lore, things like that. We can't really do lore because every faction is equal to all of the other factions in the lore, and none of them can ever win against the other. I mean, if literally any of them focused on the Tau would instantly die. But the Eldar are always doing shenanigans. The Imperium always have just enough strength to hold off every other faction at once, but never properly deal with any of them. Chaos is persisting on, oh yeah, we have these guys from 10,000 years ago, and then we did some time warp shenanigans, so for them it's been like 100 years at most. So they're all still pretty battle ready, sort of. And then they get more reinforcements, and then also demons, but they don't really bring in the demons. I'm glad they went more of a cultist route a lot more recently, because Lost and the Damned has some Chaos Space Marines. Yeah, also the Chaos is fighting the Chaos all the other time. Yeah. Most of the fighting they did through like the 32nd millennium after the War of the Beast all the way through to the 40th millennium was just, okay, who are beating up this time? Oh, it's the World Eaters. Oh, it's the Emperor's Children. Oh, it's this and that. Yeah. And the Orks will also always fight each other and never really gang up, even though they have Ghazghkull to say, yeah, we're gonna get together, but then they just don't. So every faction is currently on the cusp of winning against every other faction, apart from the Tau. They're just not really in the running. Tyranids are about to wipe everything out. Genestealer Cults are about to rise up everywhere, and then the Tyranids will win. All of the Space Marines are about to beat everyone everywhere, but there's just not quite enough of them. Eldar are not going to win. They're just... their goal is survive. But never mind. Yeah, and we don't know how many Tyranids there are. There could be a million billion of them, and there's a galaxy worth on their way, or we could already have fought off the majority of the Tyranids. Votann supremacy. Oh no, they're also a pretty minor faction. The Law Inquisitor divided Tyranid fleet into the Ork planet and then nothing happened with it. Is that the Octarius War? Because that sounds like the Octarius War, which has at least had a conclusion after 4 editions? It started in 6th edition. I mean, it was previously mentioned, but they had a big focus on it, the Octarius War, in 6th edition, and then at the end of 9th edition, I think, they were like, yeah, Tyranids won. There you go. The risk was calculated, but I'm bad at math, says Inquisitor Cryptman. Absolutely. Oh, minor faction. Oh, no, I'm going to be going full pun with the Votann. My whole review of the Votann was just 2 minutes of me making puns about them. Yeah, there's a lot of lore that's like, ooh, there's a thing. What's High Fleet Tiamat doing? Ooh, what's this super weapon? Ooh, are the Eldar gonna bring out planet smashers, sun exploders? No, not really. Because this is a game focused on platoon level fighting. Or maybe a bit bigger than platoon level fighting. It should go back to platoon level fighting. But never mind. Right, the Orks. There are a lot of ways to play the Orks. That is a massive benefit. So if you want walkers, you can have walkers, and there's now a detachment focusing around the walkers. There's hordes. Hordes are doing really well, and they're expected to do really well in the coming meta. So if you want loads of boys, that's absolutely valid. If you have a green spray can, you can paint them all really quickly, and the Black Reach 5th edition starter set has a lot of Orks and second-hand Orks still going around, except for the Copters, because the Copters were not available until about 7th edition. So that's 2 editions where the only way you can get a unit is from a starter box set from a previous edition. Yeah, there's Fast Boys if you want all of the vehicles, and there was a box game which was like, yeah, this is meant to be a wacky races kind of game. Also, you can use all these models in 40k. If you want transports and do a mech list with battle wagons and looted wagons, but the looted wagons don't have rules this time. They had them in 8th edition immediately as legends, and 9th edition where you could sort of make your own, but not really. They have had some fun make your own vehicle rules before for like looted wagons, where it depends if you're taking like a Chimera base or if you're taking a Land Raider base and how it works with that, or like a Lehman Russ base, and then you change it and add things to it. The previous vehicle design rules, where you could make your own vehicle, led to some absolutely crazy, outlandish things. A lot of these were theory crafted, but then Games Workshop's response was like, if you make that model with 15 auto guns and, you know, front armor 14, which is the equivalent these days of like toughness 13, then sure, you can play with it on the table, but you've got to actually build it with all those bits. If you don't, then the rules are perfect. Yeah, the Copters come from an age where they were expected to convert and build your own stuff. Sort of, but they also had made models for them. So there's that, yeah. You stop reading a Dread mob and now you have a lot of Dreads and Killer Cans. That's a great way to do it. A lot of people like the Grot tanks. I mean, you can still use the Grot tanks. They're only in Legends. They're not disappeared like the Looted Wagon has no rules. And really, you can just use the Grot tank models as Killer Cans. It's fundamentally the same. You could stick a Grabber Claw on there if you want, but you don't have to. Ah yes, the Gorka Morka rule. An Ork truck can carry as many models as you can fit on it and none of them fall off. If any of them fall off, they die. Yes. Oh, I've seen the Killer Can made of a Games Workshop pot. Just an empty pot. You invert it, and then you take a bunch of spare bits from the Ork... Is it called a Dreadnought? I keep saying it wrong. Yeah, the Ork Dreadnought. Spare arms and guns and things you didn't use. Put 2 of them onto the pot with some sort of legs made out of whatever sprue. There you go, it's a Killer Can. Spray it all one colour, and it works. Yeah, there's not quite a Gretchen Revolution detachment. It's a bit hard to work around essentially 2 units, although the Walker detachment is giving Battle Line as a keyword to Gretchen. You get Killer Cans as a focus, so that is your Gretchen Revolution detachment. Ah, the Death Dread, of course. Yes, the Death Dread. Orc trucks made of ice cream containers. You can make them out of, like, civilian toy trucks. Go to a second-hand shop and be like, oh, there's a truck, I'll have that. There's another one. There you go. There's loads of trucks. Yeah, it works. So, there's a lot of second-hand models. You can use fantasy orc models if you just want to hoard, especially if you're doing the Beast Snagger Boys, which are feral orcs, but they're not feral orcs. But they are. That works too. So there's a lot of ways to play them, and they're all pretty fun. Orc players tend to have fun. What they seem to lack is high armor penetration. They hate 2+ saves. But other kinds of save, like 3+ save, weight of attacks will do it. It's just that as soon as you get to a 2+ save, Orc Horde tactics just break down. You need then the Power Claws, but you haven't got enough Power Claws. Yeah, like Yarrick's Power Claw as one such Power Claw. I don't know if there's anything else to say about the Orcs. They're fun. They work. It's a lot of models, only if you want it to be a lot of models. Step 1, have fun. Step 2, kit bash everything. There. It's one of the better armies to get. And people recognize when you put them on a table what an Orc does. And since 9th edition, they've had a profile that a bit more feels Orky. They play really well into Space Marines. Music's a bit loud. Sure. I can turn that down. Yeah, I can turn it. Oh, that is very loud. You're right. I must have turned it up for some previous recording. That makes sense. There we go. That is better. Not the most orky music. I know. Where was I? What was I ranting about? Orc boys. Get lots of orcs. Play them. Oh yes, the toughness. Yes, they play really well into Space Marines because the bolters now wound on a 5+, because the orcs are toughness 5. It sucks against lasguns, which are also wounding them on 5+, and there are way more of them. But orcs are getting a 5+ armor save now, not a 6+ save. It's crazy. It's crazy. And then you can get invulnerable saves all the time. You need AP -2 at least for the war boss and the beast boss stuff. It's mostly -1 AP. Yeah. It's very much going for weight of attacks is how you win. Yep, a lot of Space Marines hate how they wound on 5+, so it's like, gotta get the shenanigans. Things like, well, let's do a Space Marine faction next. Let's do just the Space Marines. Generic Space Marines. Because they have a lot of shenanigans they can try from quite a few detachments, and that includes divergent chapters, so we can look at them as well. They are a versatile army. That is kind of their whole thing. They can adapt to whatever the meta is most of the time because they're really easy to buy and there's a lot of them. Sometimes Games Workshop has rules that focus on them, and because they get their codex first in every single edition and because they sometimes get multiple codices to keep up with the meta, then yeah, they can be really good. They're predictable, but they're easy to use. They're very forgiving, generally. The only game you want to see is Gaunt Swarm versus Green Tide. I'm hoping at some point to do Chaos Cult versus Green Tide. I've done that in previous editions where it was like 6th edition and you had the Imperial armor, Lost in the Damned rules. It was weirdly messy. And it didn't quite go as well for the Chaos Cult. Well, no, it went about as well for the Chaos Cult as you'd expect, where I slightly outnumber the Orcs, but the Orcs are more punchy, way more punchy. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. Yes. Their profile of a Space Marine is very average for the tabletop. So yes, they're in all of the video games, but they don't feel like their video game self. That's sort of how it's going to be. They will die on the tabletop. Yeah, they can be boring, but then you get all of the divergent ones, which are just better versions of the main Space Marine thing. That's how it works in this edition. So the profile's kind of average, but they have a massive range and you can do whatever you want. You want to go heavy on vehicles? What kind of vehicles? fast vehicles, we've got land raiders, we've got rhinos, we've got all kinds of dreadnoughts. Well, 4 kinds of dreadnoughts now. It used to be like 6 kinds of dreadnoughts. A lot of kinds of dreadnoughts. So you can do whatever you want with them. You can do infantry horde if you want. Hello, Black Templars players. If you want to be fast bikes, then there's the White Scars. My favorite chapter is the Imperial Fist, but that's because when I started playing in, you know, the 90s, it was Space Crusade that got me in. If you look up Space Crusade, it's a different, kind of similar to Space Hulk. Everyone knows Space Hulk. Not a lot of people know Space Crusade. So that was where you had the Red Marines, the Blue Marines, and the Yellow Marines. Red being Blood Angels, blue being Ultramarines, yellow being Imperial Fists as just your basic thing. Yeah, here's some guys. Different primary colors for the different ones. And I liked the yellow ones that had all the big guns. It's just a shame that they're so hard to paint. Blood Angels are also quite fun. Combat focused, pretty good. Black Templars tend to win out. But there's so many other things you can do. If you want to focus on stealth and assassination, you can. If you want to have super tough people and have the Gravis Marine heavy intercessors as your battle line units, you can. I think now, with the points drop to them, is the first time they've ever been good since they were introduced in, I want to say, 9th edition. They can do anything if you buy the right models or pick the right detachment for your army. If you want to do combat, you just pick the Black Templars. Oh, give Dawn a hand. So funny. But Black Templars, it's... Okay, we have the model that is definitely not just the 3rd edition art, but they made it Primaris, and that was very controversial. Ooh, people didn't like that. We have... Hey, it's an Infernus Marine before we had Infernus Marines, and then we have... Hey, these are the people who actually do the fighting. Now only in Primaris version, but it doesn't matter, it's really the same profile. And a generic dude with a combat weapon. Oh yeah, and we've got a guy that should be in the Battle Sisters army. The Black Templars steal just so much of the Battle Sisters stuff. Like, look at that in the background. You see that? It's a hand flamer. Who has the hand flamers? The Battle Sisters should have the hand flamers. If you've been around a while on the channel, you may know that before 10th edition started, I did quite the rant about how Battle Sisters are neglected after Space Marines got all of these free points updates, like, oh, Thunderhammer, that's free. Power Fist, it's free. Battle Sisters, your Repentia went up. Everything else still costs. And we were just so neglected. Blood Angels had our stuff, Black Templars had our stuff. It was just almost cheaper to have Space Marines instead of Battle Sisters, and you got very different toughness and strength and number of wounds. And then we went to 10th edition, it was like, oh wow! So Retributors are like Devastator squads, but not as good, and for some reason they cost more points. That's not okay. Fix this, please. Sort your stuff. That's an okay model. That's also fine. They do have the Crusade aesthetic. Oh yeah, yellow. Yellow is a problem. Yellow is a problem to paint. Ooh. Oh yeah, and then Deathwatch is just like, you can have all the chapters. Whatever you want, though. Just, yeah, the haircut is, it's a choice. It's definitely a choice of a haircut. They're going very much for these are warrior monks in space, which is probably why we don't need an ecclesiarchy-focused army, because we just have Black Templars. Raven Guard's quite fun. I like the Raven Guard detachment. I like the idea of stealth and assassination, but when it comes to that, I think a bit more Alpha Legion and infiltrating cultists, because I don't see caca and then falling from the sky on a jump pack to be quite the stealthy infiltration I'm looking like. Hello, Paul. He's not here, but hello, Paul and his army. There's a lot of things that are like good yellow. Yeah. Most good yellows are radioactive or just poison. Well, don't lick the paint. Yeah, that was my crow impression. That was a bird. A perfectly normal bird. I am expecting Conrad Curse. No, he's dead. He's dead. Chorus Kovacs to come back and be like, oh, I'm horribly cursed, I can turn into a flock of birds, and like, oh no, Primarch, it's horrible that you've come back, oh, in such a horrible cursed way. It's like, yes, it's such a curse, I can turn into a bird whenever I want. It's like, oh, that sounds less of a curse, that's not as worrying. No, it's a terrible curse, I can hunt Chaos Marines way easier now. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, that sounds the worst thing. Can we turn into birds? No, we're not. Yeah, Shrike's Space Batman, but without the crime-solving stuff. Not that seemed to come up too much in the comics. It did a bit. But most people think of Batman as like, drop into an alley, punch some homeless people. That's the kind of thing it does. Yeah. Flock of birds. You got the reference? Good. It's very niche as a reference, I will say. Oh, someone on Twitch clip it. I'm not streaming on Twitch at the moment. See, unlike a lot of other people are like, oh, I co-stream on Twitch and YouTube. I've seen their Twitch streams. If they normally stream on YouTube, there's 2 people on Twitch. If they normally stream on Twitch, there's 1 person on YouTube. I'll just put it all on YouTube because everyone has access to YouTube. Sure, if you make an account, you can comment, but you don't have to. Yeah. Raven Guard is still the smallest army. Well, because they were the smallest legion, and they still have problems. So they have a couple of, like, second founding chapters, but not a lot. Then there's the Space Wolves. They're like, hey, I've got 13 great companies still, and 2 successor chapters, one of which is traitors, one of which is Primaris. Yeah, that's a good point. Space Marines as detectives when they can get someone's memories by eating them. We'll see. What was I going to say about the Space Marines and stuff? Oh yeah, the Black Templars. They're still doing really well. As we're seeing more of a focus on the battle line units, well, they're really good battle line units. Just don't have them in squads of 5 because that's where the points have gone up. But a squad of 10, squad of 20, that'll work. We know that for the coming Pariah Nexus, because it's always called Pariah Nexus mission cards, half of the missions will be focusing on battle line units. So that may be killing battle line units. It could also be, say, have a unit destroy an enemy unit. +1 victory point if you're using random cards, +1 victory point if you are a battle line unit. So you'll want lots of battle line units to score the most of that. Yeah, Crusade Squad's no problem. And there's a difference between their Primaris version and their not Primaris version. The Firstborn version is generally better. The Primaris version is cheaper, but you can also take some like dudes with heavy flamers, which you can pick up as the free painting model in Games Workshop if you're like, I'm new and have never touched a brush before. Please do not make me buy everything. I just want to paint one model. If you do upload the clip, that's great. Just let me know and then I could link to it. By all means. I like having people clip me. It happens occasionally, but it's on like really weird things. But yes. Don't fail me. Primaris though, the upscaling's okay. I mean, this model looks fine. You don't need to know it's Primaris. It seems about right. It's a different kind of gorget at the front. So the armor doesn't look regular Primaris. It's fine. It's fine. Firstborn models look better though. Especially if they do new Firstborn models. No, we don't need to tell the Templars that chaining a weapon to their arm is a World Eaters thing. We know that the Imperial Fists got it from the World Eaters before the Horus Heresy, but that's just general friendship stuff. And they're taking it a step further. Who else changed their weapons together? Oh, there was, of course, Captain Titus in the new Space Marine game. Because at the end of the first Space Marine game, he was dragged away by Black Templars and the Inquisition to be like, hey, so are you like an evil traitor man because you can survive the warp? You might be. Ooh. We'll see. But yeah, he fastened his arm together. That works. So Black Templars I expect to still be the best Space Marine army. If you spray them black is one of the cheapest spray paints. It's easy to do. Red is a bit harder to paint. But with the Black Templars, you can counter... Oh, yes, the army rule. Of course, the vow. You get to pick that before the battle starts. You don't pick a detachment that then narrows you down to one particular route. You get to pick that when you see what the enemy's army is, so you can counter Ork hordes. Well, if it's like a Tyranid horde, you pick sustained hits in combat. If it's an Ork horde, you may want to go with lethal hits, because if you're going to be wounding on a 5+, lethal hits are probably better. And it's only for combat. Otherwise, you know, sustained hits is very good. And that's army-wide as a vow. So they'll still be good versus the Green Tide. I don't know if people want to run the numbers on whether lethal hits or sustained hits are better against toughness 5 Orks when you're strength 4. Then again, you've got people like these brethren, sword brethren, who can either have +1 damage, really, really powerful, or just +1 attack. So there's your extra thing. And that's not dependent on the detachment you pick, on the vow you pick. It's just always there as an option. Yeah. Blood Angels have some combat focus, but they're otherwise just generic Marines at this stage. Slightly better jump troops. They're probably next on the list. We don't know what's going to happen with Deathwatch, but as a Space Marine chapter, I think they're next to get their codex. We're looking at September, maybe? They keep changing around the release schedule and what is leaked and maybe will happen. Ah, welcome to the channel. Thank you for becoming a member. Oh yeah, the Black Templars 6+ feel no pain. That is really good when the enemy have damage to weapons. And we're going to see that a lot of things for the Space Marines, the way to beat them, their big weakness is everyone can counter them with damage to weapons. You fire a Basilisk at them, it is now perfect for killing Space Marines. As soon as anything is damaged to, it's a Space Marine killer. Yeah. The Blood Angels do have their unique dreadnoughts. I did see a video recently where someone was like, how to make the 3 dreadnoughts from the one kit. And it was actually how to take 5 dreadnoughts and turn them into 4 dreadnoughts. It's like, oh dear, no. That's not as advertised. More jump packs? Yeah, oh yeah, get the Primaris treatment. We'll have to see what happens. I think they're going to just lose their tactical squad upgrade thing. Because there's no current rules for them to have like hand flamers. It's a shame. Otherwise their tactical squad upgrade sprue looked really good. I was very tempted to go, ooh, maybe I should get some Blood Angels. Because I do have a few like second-hand Blood Angels things that have then become either Deathwatch or Imperial Fists, like the Death Company. Death Company do indeed go smash, and because there's no points, everyone has a Power Fist or Thunder Hammer, everyone has an Inferno Pistol. It's crazy strong. Yeah, the change to the Sons of Sanguinius detachment was a good start. I think they need a bit more, because at the moment, the stratagems look basically like this is the Gladius Task Force with a slight tweak. Ah, Mystic Onion, thank you. Played Admech today. Castellan robots tapped a land fort. 6 hits and Conqueror each. Oh yeah. Yeah, that goes ridiculously hard. Strength 12, AP -2, 3 damage. That's about the same level as a Genestealer Cult Acolyte's demo charge. But the twin linked for the reroller? That's really good. Yeah. Yeah. That's fun. Good. Good for you. Amount of characters the Angels and Wolves lost going to Primaris was crazy. Yeah. Iron Hands enjoy. Oh, that's a different choice. And you don't need to worry about, oh, is my whole thing going to be sticking around for like the future? You have one character. So as long as Tech Marines are still around, you'll be fine. I don't think there's really anything too special about the Blood Angels other than you get more units on the baseline Space Marine army. Dark Angels and their plasma technology hasn't really come into it much. There's no real bonuses for their plasma stuff. I'm not seeing a lot of, oh yeah, we need to focus on the plasma tech. Obviously that means they're good against other Space Marines and Chaos Space Marines. I'm not going to say that they are Chaos Space Marines, Although some of them are. I don't know if we have any of them here. Friend of the Chaos Space Marines. A friend to Chaos Space Marines. They do kind of like the Plasma. I'm sort of glad they got their Plasma Marines in their new Combat Patrol. But the Combat Patrol is disappointing since it's 10 Intercessors and 5 basically Intercessors, but with a slightly different gun. I'm hoping that for 11th edition they just say, okay, we're swapping out Intercessors for a Tactical Squad again. And that'll work. Everyone would like that. Yeah. Gladiator Reapers. Gladiator Reapers should be doing quite well. Because Gladiator Lancers, I think, are currently the best with their massive cannon. Gladiator Reapers, then we're going to be cutting down hordes. Dark Angels have been getting nice minis. Yeah. I haven't done Deathwatch yet. Deathwatch will be coming up very soon. Dark Angels have some character models. Otherwise, they're just, yeah. They're fine. Tell me how to destroy my best friend that plays Chaos Space Marines. We'll be doing the weaknesses of Chaos Space Marines. And there's a few factions that really play well against Chaos Space Marines. Yeah. There's quite a few characters that just make the Dark Angels better. So as a choice of, oh, I'm playing generic Space Marines, but I want to be a bit better, just picking the Dark Angels characters can work pretty well. Weapons from the Dark Angels. Yes, the Dark Ages War Crimes Division. Yeah, they play quite fun in 30k. But that's a whole different game. Whole different game. What's the next one? Oh yeah, we'll do the Space Wolves. We know how I feel about Space Wolves. That is a weird head. No one likes that head. They're a very character-focused one. They have an okay upgrade sprue, and it seems to be sticking around to keep up the Grey Hunters. You know, instead of Tactical Marines, that's fine. I have no problem with that. You get more special weapons. I don't think you get heavy weapons. They're more reserved for the Long Fangs, because they play a bit more like a 30k army, which was unique until we get Primaris, and then everyone plays a lot more like the 30k. Where it's like, hey, we're going to group all the Plasma Marines together in a unit, and all the Flame Marines together in a unit, and that's how it works. Borga, you started Genestealer Cult because of my videos. I hope you're having fun with that, and you got 2 combat patrols. Nice. Oh, no problem, no problem. Happy to help. Wolves have the most named miniatures. No, oh, that makes sense. Yeah. Oh, yeah, considering all the characters. Because basically all the different units have a special character. Because we've got Ragnar Blackmane, and we also have a Psychic Man, and we also have a Wolf Claw kind of dude, the Trickster. And there's a guy, the Santa. They have Santa pulling his sled with some wolves. Haven't done Genestealer Cult yet. You haven't missed them. Yeah. Name Dreadnoughts. Oh yeah, they have so many kinds of Dreadnoughts as well. The freaky Wolfen Dreadnought. So many Dreadnoughts. They do Wolf. Yes. What have I got for Space Wolves? I don't think I have anything written. Space Wolves. Not Space Dwarves. Nope, nothing special for Space Wolves. Other than they exist. Their whole sagas, it's not that good, because compare it to the Black Templars again, where you get a bonus for the whole game. The Gladius Task Force, where you pick your bonus for each turn depending on what you need. Space Wolves have to earn it, and you have to go very character heavy, and then your characters have to do stuff. Now, I do really like that you can... I'm just going to move that off the screen because I do not like that helmet. You can go very heavy into the little attachment characters. They're like unit champions that go on top of your unit champion. They're really fun. Adding like a random Terminator character with lightning claws is great. That's really great. Yeah, I can get behind that as a concept. It's a way that Deathwatch could have worked. But their whole detachment doesn't work, so they're focusing more on the Stormlands, Thunderwolf Cavalry, because they're mounted, so they get all the bonuses that the bikes get. That's kind of what's carrying them, and I think the most recent tournament, like, high-placing Space Marines was a Space Wolf that did just generic Space Marines plus the Thunderwolf Cavalry and did it in the Stormlance Detachment. Yeah, Stormlance Detachment. That's what I said. I did say that. I think those were the words that came out of my mouth. Sometimes I listen to myself. Sometimes I just don't listen to myself as the words are coming out of my mouth. You're thinking about the new Genestealer Cult Combat Patrol only because you don't have the bikes or buggies. That's valid. It's a decent one if you haven't got the models because it is a discount compared to buying all the stuff. Yeah. Oh, here's all the Space Wolf characters. Arjak, Bjorn, Harold, Crom, Logan, Lucas, Murderfang. That's the Dreadnought. Njal, Stormcaller, Ragnar, Blackmane, Ulrich. Yeah, that's a few. That's a few. And Bjorn the Fell-Handed. Oh, he's already mentioned. Yeah. Good character, that one. I like that. So that's 2 named Dreadnought characters? Oh, that's impressive. That's impressive. Okay. Now we'll do the Deathwatch. But with that model on screen. Did we mention Stormcloak? Oh, there's a lot. Oh yeah, we can mention Stormcloak. What have you missed? So far we have done Orks and most of the Space Marines. Yes, right. So the Deathwatch very much underperform. I have tried playing the Deathwatch just using Black Templars rules and they play so much better. Their rules are so very similar. Especially when you consider the Deathwatch attachment, which is all about the mission tactics. You can just be like, oh, I don't really want lethal hits for once per game or sustained hits once per game, when one of them is clearly better for the enemy I'm facing, and I'll just have it the whole game. Sword Brethren play a bit better than any of the different Deathwatch ones, and I'm going to look at the Grey Knights next and compare the Deathwatch to the Grey Knights. The Deathwatch were, well, the rules were janky at the start of the edition when we could get devastating wounds on everything. No. Lethal hits. Lethal. Just the thing where you get the good wounds. Lethal wounds? On a 2+, on a 5+. I can't remember the words now. But that thing. Lethal hits. Lethal hits? No. Hang on, I've got it here. I always have the codexes to hand. I'm thinking of the detachments. Yeah, devastating wounds combined with anti-infantry. That one. That's one. Devastating wounds. Yes. So when you can get, with one of the stratagems, anti-infantry. That's the one I'm thinking of. You automatically wound on a certain number. Yes, anti-infantry and anti-monster. On a 2+ or a 5+. Combine that with devastating wounds. That was mad. That was absolutely mad. Yeah, the rending kind of wounds. Devastating wounds plus anti-stuff. It was crazy powerful. Then they were like, okay, that's only on bolt weapons. The problem is that Space Marines, although they have a lot of bolt weapons, unless you're going heavily into units with bolt weapons, now that we have all the Primaris stuff, where you can go, oh, I'll just have all plasma or all flamers. If you're starting out this edition, all flamers is what you've got. When we get the Hachette magazine, which I have now a video on, coming in August in the UK, one of the issues is for £6 you get 5 Infernus Marines. So you can get a lot of Infernus Marines. They're not battle line, but when you can take them in squads of 10, you can have up to 30 of them. That would be really powerful if you could have anti-infantry on that. But the bolter limitation makes 3 of the stratagems? Or is it 1, 2... Or, yeah, half of the stratagems are all about using bolt weapons. Unless you're having a very big focus on the bolt weapons and you don't want to because you can get much better weapons for the same points cost. So you don't go with bolt weapons, so you don't go with Black Spear Detachment, so you just go generic Marines, and then you have expensive models. 110 points for 5 Marines when you can get 10 Tactical Marines for 130. That's quite a points difference. I know there's a difference in an attack, and you get a power sword rather than a combat knife. And you get the sergeant special weapon, 1 special weapon, and a heavy weapon, compared to having all 5 of them with special weapons. Yeah, but Black Templars have very similar and better units. They probably, yeah, they're a bit more like Imperial Fists with all the bolter focus. I can see why Infernus Marines are not battle line. Anything with Torrent, because you can do Overwatch in this edition. Overwatch is really strong. Deathwatch are neglected, which could be because, hey, we're getting rolled into some kind of Imperial agent shenanigans. Or it could be, actually, they're the next thing to get a whole rework. Or there could be like a box set of sorts. When did we see a last box set? I know we had the Deathwing box set, which is like a battle force. We've had all the previous battle forces. Have we had any kind of narrative boxes fighting? There was, you know, Leviathan, where you get 2 armies, but we haven't had any of them other than that this edition. So there was a vague rumor that, oh, they're going to get put into a box and then there'll be a full rework of them at the same time and it's coming soon. But we'll see. Yeah. Yeah, they very much forgot. If you go on any of the YouTube videos for Games Workshop's YouTube channel, where they have the comments turned on, because for quite a while they just had comments off, then you can see a lot of people are saying, what happened to Deathwatch? Where's the points for the Deathwatch? What's the stats on the Deathwatch? Because people know Deathwatch are doing so badly because we have the very similar Black Templars that you just play them. And the next one I want to talk about, the Grey Knights. Boom, Grey Knights. They're doing really well. And they're firstborn. They're also firstborn. The models got a little bit of age to them, but they're one of the really good kits. This kit where you get these dudes, I'm moving my mouse over them and you can't see my mouse. These dudes, you can make 4 different units with them. There's like a heavy unit, there's their super jumpy unit with the special jump packs. Then there's their regular squad, which is called Strike Team? Yeah, Strike Squad. The basic guys with a Strike Squad. Or there's the Purifier Squad, which is a bit more assault weapons. Kind of. It's a little bit different. One of the things I'd like to see generally is a reduction in points, which means an increase in points, a reduction in game size, and then you can have more of a focus on the individual models and units. Something I quite liked about 6th edition, even though it was like, oh yeah, you definitely want some over the other, was a change to power weapons to be, this is a power maul, so it hits different to a power axe, which stabs different to a power sword. These have like Nemesis Demon Hammers, Nemesis Falchion Weapons, Nemesis Demon Swords, Nemesis Stick. They had a stave, which was kind of the worst one because it is just a stick that you bonk people with. That was a nice way to do it. Yeah, 1 kit, 4 units. So if you have a bunch of bodies, there you go. And I know someone did 3D print a bunch of bodies. Now I want to talk about 3D printing briefly, because at every single video where I'm like, get these cheaper or this is a bad deal, there's always someone who comments, what about 3D printing? 3D printing is expensive because it's a whole nother side hobby that you need to get into. If you think about wargaming, you need to buy the models. Okay, that's fine. Then you need to paint the models yourself. You can pay someone to paint them for you. Like, say, the VTuber Matara Khan. She's getting someone to paint her models for her. And then there's playing with them. So that's several hobbies at once. If you 3D print, there's an extra hobby on top of the hobby. And then you've got to buy a 3D printer. You've got to make sure it works. There's kind of 2 different ways of 3D printing. One is where you figure out the files yourself and the resin does its job. The other one is where you balance the resin and then it prints. I just know there's kind of 2 ways to do it. I don't know too much more than that. Then you've got to do it wrong for a bit. Then you've got to realize, oh, the scale's just off. Because I know someone who printed some Terminators. They're like, oh, I want some like more Terminators after Leviathan printing. After they got the Leviathan models, they wanted more of them. And it was like, oh, this is obviously too big. It's like a centimeter taller. Or try again. Oh no, it's a centimeter shorter. Resin printing is the easy one. It's expensive up front and cheap over time. That's the thing. You can't just get a 3D printer and be like, oh, I want a couple of squads of these. You're gonna have to print whole armies. And that's after you've made mistakes. If you're gonna print 2 whole armies, then 3D printing is worth it. And you gotta do some test printing. Yeah. Then you've got to also figure out how much you want. So quite a lot of the time, there are people who will print generic bodies. There is also sometimes the stealing element where it's like, are we just copying someone's design? Or are we making something entirely new and unique? Upscale the sisters to be bigger than Space Marines. And then they actually fit on a 32mm base. The very first sisters, when they came out in plastic, 28mm bases did not exist. If they do when they eventually do a rework of the sisters models, I think they'll all be on 28mm bases, all apart from one of the sisters models, because they're basically monopose models, multi-part kits, but monopose. All but one of them fit perfectly onto a 25mm base. So when I've put a lot of them on 25mm bases, and I know this is the time when tournament players go, oh, what have you done? No, it's wrong. It's not the right base size. No one at the clubs I play at ever care. Barely any of them notice, especially when we have so many weird different base sizes in the sisters range. 28mm for Repentia, but not all the Repentia. And because it depends if you got the monopose ones or the multi-part ones. 32mm for the Battle Sisters, but they don't suit to 32mm. Then the 60mm Hospitaller base, which is a diorama, when the previous one is 25mm. So put it on a 25mm base, put it on a 28mm base, 32mm base. That'll work. Yeah. Whether you 3D print or Games Workshop plastic doesn't matter if your painting is bad. You can slowly improve with painting. If you do like a paint by numbers kind of approach, it's fine. Grey Knights are good because you get a silver spray can, or a grey spray can, I suppose, but silver works. There you go, it's mostly done. If you look at this model, which is super professionally painted, it is all silver, little bit of gold, little bit of red, blue for the eyes is optional because you just paint them red as well. A tip for painting eyes, if you're right-handed, do the model's right eye first, so that's on the left side facing you, and then turn the head upside down to do the other eye, because you'll always end up with one of the eyes being painted better than the other. It's because of the angle when you're going into it. So if you're right-handed, paint their right eye first, turn the head upside down and do the other one. Then it'll be right. Oh yeah, they changed the heavy weapon base sizes and things. Yes, they're on 50mm. And the Sentinels, did they get bigger? They went from... They're on 60mm, 100mm? I don't know what they're on now. Yeah. All my Marines wear helmets. Good way to do it. I sometimes like to differentiate between sergeants, but they usually have different weapons anyway. So that's where you don't need to. And my Imperial Fists, of course, have Imperial Fists on their Imperial Fists, which are Power Fists. Yeah, so that's how you fix eyes. Yeah. Yet doing it a bit more watered down so it flows into the eye socket can work. And if you do it that way, much like on this model, you'll get a little bit of a raised area that it's not covered. So you don't need to do the blue and then the white dot. Just doing it more watered down, if blue, you will have a raised area that isn't as blue and it'll look quite right for the lighting. Yeah. So that's an optional way to paint. I don't much do painting. It's just, I'll paint some models pretty quickly. Deathwatch are easy. You spray them black. Bit of silver if you want. I've done it where, because their right hand has the omnispecs kind of thing, the radar looking bit with all the tubes, that's silver. On their left hand, which is otherwise silver, like the whole arm is silver, I paint their gauntlet black and you get a nice contrast as it's black with a bit of silver on one side, silver with a bit of black on the other side. It looks nicer than just pure silver. Grey Knights are pure silver, of course. Tyranid Termagants on 28mm? I think they might be now. Yeah. Yeah, they are, because they made them bigger so that they fit with the tails. I think the Hormagants are 28mm as well. Right. Grey Knights. I have a lot to say about Grey Knights. They're really bad at killing demons. in this edition, because there's about one anti-demon weapon in the whole codex. But what they are really good at, and what they've always been better at killing, is Chaos Space Marines. A lot of weapons that are AP -2. That's also a bit of the problem with Deathwatch. Their weapons, if you go a lot of power swords, that's where you're better at killing Marines. But their special rules, especially on the regular Deathwatch veterans, are focused more on killing aliens. Bit of a mismatch and things there. Oh, they still sell the old Carnivore set online. Nice to know. Good screening is the Grey Knight's biggest weakness. That's why you got to use Imperial agents. That's why you can take just generic infantry, human infantry, and call them inquisitorial henchmen. Put them in the front. Yeah. So they have a lot of Chaos Marine killing things because of the high AP swords. But it's only a little bit, and it's only in close combat. They do also have the damage 2 Psy Cannons, which Chaos Space Marines really don't like. The 2+ save on their basic Marines, that was very much needed for this edition. So when a strike squad is 2+ save, I mean, it's toughness 4, but, 2 wounds, Orks are not going to like that. A lot of armies are not going to like that because of how little armor penetration there is across the board in 10th edition, and I'm very much thankful for that. It was stupid in 9th edition where basic bolters, you could expect -1 AP. Special rule, oh yeah, it's -2 AP. Space Marines, they now save on a 5+. Then they had to bring in the Armor of Contempt rule, just so the armies in power armor got to use their power armor. Anti-Xenos covers way too many units. Well, the way they've done it for the veteran Deathwatch veteran squad is to say anything that doesn't have the Imperium or Chaos rule, which can mean unaligned fortifications. It also means all of the weird, like, Blackstone Fortress Gribblies. That works too. It could work. It could definitely work. And we have no Xenos keyword. It's fine. I think it's generally fine the way that one unit works out. We have Anti-Psyker as a keyword on a lot of things, and Psychic is a drawback because of how much Anti-Psyker stuff there is. So with the Grey Knights, your Psykers, as soon as there's something that gives you bonuses against Psykers, like the Black Templars can have a vow that gives them resistance to and resists psychic powers and anti-psyker 4+ on all of their combat weapons, Grey Knights don't do as well. They are a bit of an older model set. I mean, the Terminators especially, they're looking their age. These are from 5th edition, whereas we now have 10th edition Terminators, and they missed out the 6th edition little bit revival of the Terminators when there was the I can't remember the starter box name. It had a name. The one that was Dark Angels against Chaos Space Marines. I don't know if that had a special name by itself. Like Black Reach was the 5th edition one, which was Orks against Ultramarines. Yeah, metal ones from 3rd edition to the 5th edition plastic. That's when they got a revamp. That's when they had their weird law where they kill Battle Sisters. Dark Vengeance, that was its name. Yeah, the 6th and 7th edition starter box set was called Dark Vengeance. Or Dark Vengeance, the Revengeancing for 7th edition. Every time there's a sequel, it needs to have a word that starts with an R. So it's Reloaded, Retribution, Resurrection, Revolution, Restitution, Rangry, any of them. Any sequel has to have a :R kind of name. Them's the Hollywood rules. The Grey Knights have a really good detachment. It's all about movement. This edition is all about movement and getting onto objectives. And that's the army special rule. It's not focused on the detachment. It is just depending on the size of game, and it mentions combat patrol, which I like. You get a certain number of teleporting units. So it is saying, yeah, if you want to just play 500 points using a combat patrol mission, they're really good missions for that size of game. Especially if you're learning, you don't need to use the battle forces or the combat patrol units that are in the combat patrol sets. You can just play it with whatever, and then you get one teleporting unit. That's really good. Teleporting as an army rule is great. Then the detachment rule they have is that when they advance, they always advance an extra 6 inches, and they can fly when doing so. I'm just going to check if that's all units or just infantry. It's a Grey Knight unit with Deep Strike. Any Grey Knight unit with Deep Strike. Now, I don't know if... I mean, the vehicles don't. Yeah, like the Dreadnought doesn't. But the Dread Knight... The Dread Knight has Deep Strike. The Dread Knights can fly now. The Dread Knights are awful models. They were mocked for being baby carriers. They haven't changed since. We need to change them up. Oh yes, Rebirth. The Dark Vengeance cultists were very good cultists. Yeah. Your army rule being slightly better than a Necron detachment. Yeah. Can they advance and charge? Is that a unit rule? Empiric Reprisal. This model is eligible to shoot and declare a charge when it advanced or fell back. That is the regular Nemesis Dread Knight. You don't even need to stick a Grand Master in there. The Grand Master listed somewhere? Oh, I can just use Control F. Something grand. Eldor Drago is a Grand Master. Generic Grand Master, so they have no model, so they may not survive the rest of the edition. Grey Knight's Grand Master in Nemesis Dread Knight. You can reroll hit rolls, wound rolls, and damage rolls against enemy vehicles and monsters. Okay. And when you target this model with a stratagem, it only costs 1 command point, even if it normally costs more. So that's useful for things like Heroic Intervention. Surprise, I have Heroic Intervention even though I don't have enough command points to do it. Yeah. I think the regular Dread Knights are taking over the Nemesis Dread Knight Grandmasters people. Oh yeah, they also have Battle Line Terminators. So if we're having a whole year's worth of secondary mission cards focusing on Battle Line units, there's your Terminators that are Battle Line. And those have an Apothecary and a Banner Bearer. In the regular Battle Line squad, every turn you get a Terminator back. If you can't wipe out that many Terminators, and there can be 10 Terminators, you're going to be facing then more Terminators the next turn. Not a lot of people can take out Terminators in one go. Not that many. No way. You need to put like most of your army against them to get rid of them. They're very elite. They're very good. But think about their regular strike force. There isn't a picture of them there. Nope. But the regular strike team, their most basic battle line. 120 points for a strike squad, compared to 110 points for a Deathwatch veteran team. What do we get in the strike squad? Oh, why does everything have the strike word? Strike squad. Now I've got to go through all the characters that can join strike squads. Okay. You get Scout 6. You get Deep Strike. You get Sticky Objectives. You have the army rule of Teleport Assault. You have a 2+ save, compared to the Deathwatch, which are on a 3+ save. Still objective control 2. And then for the weapons, yeah, everyone's got a Nemesis Force Weapon and a Stormbolter, which is better than the Long Vigil Melee Weapon Power Sword and a regular Bolter. Only one of them can have a super special thing like an Incinerator, a Silencer, or a Psy Cannon, so you don't have your big hammers. But I think overall, that is considered way better than what the Deathwatch are getting. They just need a big points drop. Oh, well, it's different kind of flavors of Space Marines. There's a lot to say about Space Marines. It's divided into like a quarter of the armies are Space Marines. Yeah, our Grey Knight's a good second army. We'll see what happens with the Codex, I think, is the best advice. Which may be quite some time. But Grey Knights are easy to paint. You don't need a lot of models. Their rules are really good at the moment, and their army rules should stick around. Yeah. Is that all I have to say? Oh yeah, we also have the Paladin Terminator Squad, where you can have not the Battle Line version, but you get 3 massive cannons, which is like the Deathwatch Terminators, but they're better. It is an older model line. The Dread Knight is a joke. And you are relying quite a bit on sticky objectives for the strike team or using agents in the Imperium. So other armies like the Necrons that teleport or deep striking Genestealer Cult Horde, that counters Grey Knights quite well. And also all the armies that get bonuses against Psychers like the Battle Sisters and the Black Templars. Yeah. Do you think the Kelemorph will get better in the Codex? I hope so. But my big worry is because I know we'll be nearly a year after it. They'll have looked at the Genestealer Cult as they were performing in like November. So we'll have the revised Army Special Rule and gone with it like that. So I don't think there'll be that much of a change to the Kelemorph in the Codex. I'm hoping what they don't just do is press Ctrl-C, Ctrl-V to copy and paste it over. It could happen. Terminate is a toughness 5. 2+ save, 3 wounds. Yeah, too high to be considered a battle line on any other army, so that's why Grey Knights can do really well with some Terminators, especially with these mission cards that are coming up. So I expect Grey Knights to be doing well in the meta, but, you know, the meta is not a reason to pick up an army. Genestealer Cult, we know that Stu Black, when he was talking about them, said, okay, yeah, we have a problem with the Genestealer Cult Army Special Rule at the start of the edition, where everything's coming back on a 4+, and battle line units are always coming back, but it very much said, we like that Army Special Rule. People who hated Genestealer Cult didn't quite understand the special rule, hated it so much, even when it was revised, they were like, this is bad, getting army back, it's awful. And then Genestealer Cult players who know it are like, do we even have an army special rule? It occasionally comes up, but not often. Yeah. Don't know when or if Grey Knights are going to get a revamp. We'll have to see what the Mystery Codex is, because that could be some kind of, I don't know, specialized hunters. Who's to say? Who's to say what it'll end up being? Then they may get a bit of a revamp. Yeah. They are a bit of an older model on the Grey Knights. They have cool different weapons. They were really well done in 5th edition. As a 5th edition army, really good. You say the meta always changes, unlike war. I know there is a quote that war never changes. I think the person that said that was an American general, and he said it partway through World War II. A war which had changed several times during that war. And also the army he was working with, which I think was the American army, they changed massively from basically a, oh yeah, let's pull in a bunch of volunteers and have it go that way. Then it was like, oh no, now we're our entire country loves having an army and we're going to stay that way forever. Well, for, 80, 90 years. Yeah. Yeah, the Genestealer Cult Army Special Rule is a bit, maybe. Oh, it's quoted mostly because of Fallout. That's having fun with an Amazon TV show. So, regardless of which characters are in it, the Amazon 40k Warhammer show is going to bring a lot of people into Warhammer. So I probably should do some videos about that when it comes out. It's like, here's an interesting thing, or here's how you get into it, or here's how you go from the show into the Warhammer stuff. I need to remember to do that when that thing is. Maybe can't do watch parties because if it's streaming on something like Amazon, then you're not allowed, but you can do it with Twitch, which is why when we did the Twitch, here's the reveals, we could do a watch along. YouTube lets you do it to Twitch, Twitch lets you do it to YouTube, YouTube doesn't really let you do it to YouTube, Twitch doesn't let you do it to Twitch. Yeah. Yeah, the quote is a bit weird, yeah. We'll have to see what happens with all of the Warhammer stuff generally. Okay, I think I've covered Grey Knights pretty well, and I think that is all of the Space Marine factions. So I guess we've got to do another poll vote, which is different to a poll vault. It's a vote where you do it as a poll. I don't know, a lot of people like the Wheels of Time. A lot of people like Rings of Power who are like really deeply into Lord of the Rings stuff. So we'll have to see. Nope, I don't want that button. That's the button to ban everyone. Let's not do that one. Okay. What next? Are we doing more aliens? Are we doing chaos? Are we doing Imperials? There's the poll. Do it, ban everyone. Can we still vote if we're not from Poland? I don't quite get that reference. You can still vote. I don't know what I said to make it weird. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's another one that's on the backlog of videos to make. I have some videos that are like, when X happens, do Y video. So there are several of them that are just waiting in the back. So many that are just waiting in the back. Yeah, here's why you don't need to read all the Horus Heresy books to understand the lore. We'll have to see. I mean, Henry Cavill is a Custodes player. He said several times oh, right, Pulse for Poland. I get it. I get it. It's just that with an America election and a Britain election coming up, everything I'm trying to say is not related to politics. I get it. Polls, right. Yeah, Henry Cavill has said several times he has not played any 40k in 10th edition. The last time he played was like a really small game partway through 9th edition. Yeah. Why do we even have that button? Oh, Yzma. I have been playing, or I started playing, and will continue playing at some point, the PlayStation 1 Emperor's New Groove game. It's fun. It's stupid. It is a lot of fun, though. So many things are like, oh, this is a good tutorial. And it's like, oh, Cusco, don't you go smashing all of my pots and stealing all of my money. It's like, wow, I think I'm going to smash all this person's pots and steal all their money. It's that kind of approach. Yeah. Well, I don't really want to just do, hey, I'm streaming a game. It could be fun. Yeah, Emperor's New Groove, but for PlayStation 1. I don't know if you can get it on Steam. I assume not. Just streaming random games, I don't think it would be as popular as me just talking about 40k. Talking about 40k, I get like 150 people in. If I were to stream a game that I was playing, like I've started playing Frostpunk, which has been on my to-play list for about 5 years, I don't think as many people would want it. When I did even 40k games, when I was streaming like Titanicus or Chaos Gate, not as many people were interested in watching it. Frostpunk with 40k mods. Oh yeah, of course you can mod that game so much. There just needs to be a button to, and then everyone was happy, and then everyone was fine, and we didn't need to get evil. Right, it looks like from the poll, very much going for Xenos. Right, we'll do a few more Xenos factions. So, am I not interacting with... Oh, because I pressed the button. Need to press the other button, which is on here. There we go. The Xenos threat. Or at least they call it that. Right, we've already done Orks. Eldar. We'll do Aeldari. The new Guardian models look nice. The previous Guardian models had sticks on their back that were too big, and they broke off all the time, and it was such a pain. We'll do Nids after the Eldar. So I don't know if it's Eldar Gang Rise Up. They have a really good and versatile range. There is not really any risk that their units are going to go to Legends. We know like Harlequins are like, maybe they will. Maybe they'll be independent. Maybe they won't be. So Harlequins are not something I recommend. But when you think about Eldar, all of their aspect warriors are, if not the exact same models as from the 90s, they work in the same way. Yeah, Forge World models are the exception, but that's the same for every army. The Wraith Lord's okay. They're going to be in the Hachette Combat Patrol set, so if you want to do a little bit of Eldar, you could. We're seeing, you know, it's a Wraith Guard. Well, no, not Wraith Guard, Wraith Lord. Some bikes. Some Guardians, Farseer. It's okay. For the Avatar of Cain, a lot of people get the Age of Sigmar or Warhammer Fantasy Cauldron of Blood model, because one way to build that is with a big Cauldron of Blood. The other way is to have this big statue on it, which looks so much like the Avatar of Cain. And that's only recently changed from a 40mm square base well, they put on a circle base for a bit, to, I think it's 100 millimeters, 100 millimeter circle base. I don't like the Shroud Runners. I don't like the idea of snipers on bikes. That is stupid to me. And then when I was reading White Dwarf 500, I noticed that they mixed up the word Waystone and Spirit Stone. Very upsetting from Games Workshop. Yeah. Hello, Warp Spiders. Yeah. They should be getting a new kit, within it next 12 months. There was a blurry image of something that looked a bit like Warp Spiders. Spider-Man. Second edition Metal Scorpions are the best version of the Scorpions. I agree. I have the second edition Metal Scorpions. They look really good. Of course, there's only 5 different poses and then the Exarch, so it gets a bit repetitive. That's the problem with metal models, but they look great. Yeah, it's a statue of Cain, so it works. Cain is spelled with a K in fantasy setting, but yes. I don't want to bring up people up on spelling. You're 200 rats in trench coat. You don't need to spell correctly. But it's K with a Cain. Hey, you have Shroud Runners. I'm sure they work very well in the rules, meta, whatever. I just don't like the idea. Yeah. Warp spiders everywhere. What else needs a new models? The Swooping Hawks, because they're still in resin versions of the metal kits. Dire Avengers are okay. They got Scorpions, they got the Howling Banshees, they got the Dark Reapers. That's quite a few of them. As long as you're focusing on the infantry and the aspect warriors, you're pretty safe. Shining Spears have always felt a bit weird to me. Oh, the jump guys with Prism Lancers, they're a Forge World unit, so they may not last. And I also forget their name. If I go to points, if I go to Eldar, but I spell it with an A, that's on page 6 of the points document. Why is page 6 not existing? There we go. Page 6. Someone's probably typed it in the chat by now. Shadow Spectres. They're called Shadow Spectres. They're the ones that are from Forge World. That are like a cross between Dark Reapers, but they want to get up close. Right, you take it. Good, good. Oh yeah, the Shining Spear's got new models in 9th edition. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Yeah, oh yeah, all the Phoenix Lords. A lot of them need new models. Third-party ones look really good. Especially for the Swooping Hawk Exarch. Well, Phoenix Lord. So they have a very consistent model range. Any of the models you have from any time in the past will still work in this current edition. They have the Battle Sisters Army Special Rule, which is really strong. It's weird that 2 different armies have the same rule, but we've seen that for quite a few things. But sometimes it's like a detachment rule compared to an army special rule, like we mentioned with the Grey Knights and the Necrons. Otherwise, same army special rule is a bit rubbish. Kind of boring. Kind of boring. A lot of editions, the Eldar have been really, really good. A lot of editions, they have also been overcosted because people think, oh, they're going to be great. Like the game designers are like, oh yeah, Eldar, we know they're amazing for loads of stuff. But then it's a toughness 3 body with a 5+ save. Or nowadays, 4+ save. Then they get overcosted. Like we've seen with Howling Banshees this edition. Well, for most of the edition. Anything that's Aspect Warriors isn't doing too well. Some of them are good, but not at their current job. If you talk to Proxy Hammer or go to his channel, which is all about Eldar tactics, he's like, oh yeah, you trade with Eldar. And that's not how Eldar should be. They should be hit and run. Yeah. They should be, and not be like, oh yeah, I put these Howling Banshees out. They kill something. They get killed in return. That doesn't sound Eldar to me. They do hit really strong. It's the glass cannon. But at the same time, people hate elves. People really hate elves. Dark Eldar are them but more. Additional speed, even more fragile. Their problem is they work really well against like Imperial Guard. They work really well against Genestealer Cult. They don't do well against Custodes or Grey Knights. Anything that's elite, which doesn't have a lot of units, they struggle to get their pain tokens, and they need their pain tokens. Their army, unless you're going to go weirdly hard into Homunculus Covens, it's always lots of light vehicles with lots of light infantry. So if you're playing against a Drukhari player, you know exactly what they're bringing. Whereas if you're playing against a Space Marine player, it could be anything. You don't know until you see their army on the table. They have 3 detachments, sort of. If you include like the Ynnari, the Sky Splinter Assault Force is the best one. Or you can go with the Aeldari detachment, which gives you really good things when you're combining devastating wounds with the anti-infantry poison weapons, which is now 3+. So that's good. I like that their poison attacks are 3+. It suits them. Drukhari's Eldar, but the previous freight train is dropped from orbit onto you instead. Yeah. We're a dying race whose people are super valuable, so let's give citizens super low range guns so they can be mowed down. It's part of the lore compared to the tabletop. Yeah. Don't hate elves. You just run out of caring about them. Yeah, and they can be very long range. Although if we're thinking long range firepower, that's much more the Tau. Because when they first came out, they struggled to make Tau not be Eldar. Because they were just shooting Eldar. So it's good that the Tau hit on a 4+, otherwise their army looks basically the same as Eldar. It's lots of skimmers. It's lots of infantry, some of them are specialized, and you have heavier walkers, which is like the Wraith Guard or the Tau battlesuits. Oh, the Rex give a pain token on death. That's something. Yeah, pain tokens should be theoretically from taking damage rather than giving it out, but at that point, we're struggling to make a difference between Battle Sisters, Eldar, and Dark Eldar. Oh, the drone friends, that's I suppose a difference. That's the only real major difference. Yeah. Anything new about the next half of the roadmap? I don't think there is. I don't think there's been any mention from Games Workshop like, hey, here's what's coming up next. They're gonna do probably the next reveal stream. So that's gonna be June time? Maybe July? About then. Then they're gonna be like, okay, we'll actually tell you what the Mystery Codex is. And at the same time, here's what's coming for the next, I don't know, 6 months. I was surprised when they gave us the first roadmap, which was like, here's what we've got for the next, all the way until spring. So that was autumn, winter, spring. Yeah, so they're probably going to do another 6 months reveal when they do. And then we'll know if and when Blood Angels are getting revamped, Grey Knights are getting revamped, all of these different ones. Hello and welcome to the channel. Thank you for joining. I wish the redacted codex was Astra Militarum. Yeah, we still need some Deathwatch updates. All of the comments that they get on Twitch and on YouTube will be, hey, what's happening with Deathwatch? Tell us about Deathwatch. Yeah, I've just seen the turrets that they have on Necromunda, which look fine. That's about it. I don't think it's going to be redacted Emperor's Children because of how little they've given us, which I could see that as like a tide you over for a little bit, for like another month or two, so that you still work with the new Codex Chaos Space Marines. It's a possibility, but I think we're more likely to get Emperor's Children closer to the end of the edition, so for now at least, your raptors and your bikes and all of your different horrible monsters can still be used. Otherwise, you're going to get the same thing hit you as the World Eaters and Death Guard initially, where you just lose so many units. Yeah, it'll be not great. Redacted Codex Zotes. Maybe they could just roll them in as a, here's all the miscellaneous things. I mean, Squat should just be in there. I don't think Surprise Dark Mechanicum, because Vashtor is doing quite well as a in the Chaos Space Marine Codex, and we have the, I keep forgetting their name, Blackstone Fortress unit, which is 4 Dark Mechanicum people with goads. They still exist in Legends, so there are some units, but considering how bad the Mechanicus is being taken, maybe we should talk about the Mechanicus next. I don't think they'll do a Dark Mechanicus. Yeah, they'll probably not do anything big for the surprise codex because they're releasing Age of Sigmar 4th edition at the same time, and they're building up the hype stuff for that already. So we'll see that in 2-3 months it'll be fully out and everything done, because they'll want it for summer so that when children, teenagers, are not at school, they can be playing it. Mercenaries Codex is a redacted one. I would like that too. Yeah. It does seem to be only the Imperium getting the bad mid codex. Chaos Marines versus Imperial Guard. Still Marines in the box. I was thinking, and it kind of annoyed me a bit when they didn't. Do you remember the 9th edition trailer? Since I'm not talking about this for the moment, I'll just move that off screen. Do you remember the 9th edition Warhammer 40,000 trailer? Which was, here's a battle sister, heavy focus on the battle sisters, fighting Necrons, and then there's some Space Marines just at the end, as an addendum. I was hoping to see Sisters of Battle in the starter set, which would have been great. Here's 2 different armies fighting. They've done quite a few different things with starter sets. The 4th edition starter set did not go down well because it was a tactical squad, 6 Genestealers, some Spore Mines, which I still use, and Termagants. But they haven't really done a mix of factions, because that was what the Imperium magazine then expanded into. Here's your AdMech, here's your Sisters of Battle, here's your Space Marines, and they're fighting Necrons. Yeah. Oh yeah, Space Marines will be in the starter set, definitely. But they may not be the only army. Yeah, I mean, because if we have Agents of the Imperium, rather than Agents of the Imperium, Agents of 40k, Mercenaries of 40k, I'm trying to think of a special rule. The unaligned armies of 40k. Don't worry, there'll be Marines in the starter set. It's always going to be the way. They just should be tactical Marines. Who will be the next big bad of 11th edition? I'm expecting Orks. That's a good thing to generally talk about. Assault on Blackreach was the best starter set? No, the 2nd edition starter set, where you got 30... Oh, what was it? A lot of Orks, a lot of Gretchen, and then 20 Space Marines. And a card... Death Dread. Yeah. Oh yeah, Marines and Stormcast are both guaranteed. So, big bad. Oh, I'll answer that in a second, Luke. I will absolutely answer in a second. The big bad, I think they'll probably go back to Orks, because we want to do a whole thing with Ghazghkull, who's meant to be uniting Orc tribes. We've done Tyranids this edition, we did Necrons last edition. I don't think they'll do Chaos, even though they've had big plot lines about Chaos Space Marines. Who was the 8th edition starter set? Why is that not in my mind? Oh yeah, that was Chaos. That was the Plague Marines, the Deathwatch. So I expect they will then do, yeah, we'll go back to Orks. I think that could work. Cardboard Dread, official miniature, tournament legal, yep. Primaris Tacticals and Devastators soon. Well, I can see them just removing Devastator squads, because they'll have enough heavy weapons, weird specialists. But maybe they'll change the Intercessors to be Tactical Marines, and it'll be a lot like the Sternguard squad, where it's a Primaris 10th armor kind of thing, but then any kind of head use, so you got Mark 7 heads, you got beaky helmets, stuff like that. So, to answer Luke's question, how do you think they'll handle Brood Brothers in the Codex? Maybe a detachment allows you to give them orders and increase cap is what your group is thinking. I wasn't sure, and I'm going to have to rewatch the live stream section. And chat was against me on this. If it might be 50% of your army at any time, regardless of detachment, is going to be, you can have it Brood Brothers Astra Militarum. I don't see them doing a specific Brood Brothers units like they did with 8th edition, where it was, here's your Cult Sentinel, your Cult Leman Russ, and have specialized units with points for that, which then they would have to remember to keep track of compared to the other Leman Russes and things for the Imperial Guard. So it may be 25% all the time or 50% with one particular detachment. And then that detachment would also have special rules that say, hey, you get Brood Brothers as a keyword, or this also works with Astra Militarum. The problem is, if they make that too good, all of the Imperial Guard players are gonna just be playing that detachment as an alternative. If it's better, if it's fun, if it's interesting, if they want to have veterans with demolition charges back. Because I don't think you have them in the Imperial Guard. No, you don't. You don't have veterans with demolition charges because there were 6-man teams of veterans, like specialist squads, and you could give them 3 special weapons out of the 6. So the idea was, yeah, it's maybe sniper teams or flamer teams. Then people just went with the command squads and gave them special weapons, but you could also give them demo charges. So if you want your demo charge veterans back, you come and play the Genestealer Cult. That could be how it goes. Tau versus Guard box set. Maybe just as a special set, just Tau versus Guard. Yeah, Dark Eldar was 3rd edition. They have not done them in a starter set since. They had a revamp. Well, they were basically forgotten. Sisters of Battle were forgotten after 2nd edition. Dark Eldar, I'll put them back on screen since we're mentioning them, were forgotten after 3rd edition and only got new models in 5th edition, and then Battle Sisters were revamped in 8th edition. Dark Eldar, I think, wouldn't sell well enough. No. No. Let me just catch up and chat. Big Bad would be Emperor's Children as a way to introduce them. That could be a way to do it. Yeah. Oh, the veterans were 10-man. I'm thinking of the Special Weapon Squad, which was like the Heavy Weapon Squad where it's 6 models. Yeah. Veterans could also have the demo charges, if I remember correctly. Blood Angels versus Emperor's Children for 11th edition starter set. I see that maybe. I think Blood Angels revamp will come before then. They've done Dark Angels this edition. Hopefully they do something with the Deathwatch. Maybe Deathwatch for 11th edition. Plus Orks. 40 identical Orks. That was how it was in 2nd edition starter set. It's a lot of models though. It's a really good get you started. They might block Brood Brothers from taking certain things, but the infantry squad's future, just the generic infantry squad in the Imperial Guard, it's a bit weird because they don't sell squads with a heavy weapon attached anymore. And we've seen that when they've been playing stuff online, okay, they did use some Imperial Guard squads for the Katachan. When they were doing Katachan versus Kroot, it was like, okay, well, we'll use regular infantry squads which have one heavy weapon. Yeah, I don't think they'll do Tau. I mean, it's an okay starter, like, for painting. Maybe. Emperor's Children, Space Wolves. I think the Space Wolves are not in need of a revamp. They wouldn't be interested in revamping them so much. Krieg are good. I can get behind Krieg. Tyranids again. No, we've had enough Tyranids. I know we can dream, but I think it's most likely going to be Orks. It could also be a Chaos faction if that was when they wanted to do the Emperor's Children. But then I see them more doing Ultramarines against Emperor's Children. Something like that. Okay, I'm not going to be able to keep up with chat anymore. There's too many people. Too many people. As long as the mods can keep up with the bad messages being removed, that's totally fine. Tzeentch Marines, it's a possibility. Anyone said Eldar? I don't think we've ever... Well, we've never had regular Eldar in a starter set. We have it in special boxes before. Like the one with the Harlequins and the Deathwatch, Death Mask. I thought that was stupid when it came out. I thought the Deathwatch was stupid when they came out with a massive gun that is a heavy bolter, but with a heavy flamer strapped on. But that's grown on me. They've very much grown on me. Yeah, I think Orks versus Marines will probably be the best way to go. Revenge for Ferrus Manus, Iron Hands versus Emperor's Children. The Emperor's Children will be in the back of the lore. Something like that. Black Templars probably don't need a refresh. No. No, I can't really see that happening for Black Templars. Inquisitors... Oh, you just have Inquisitors fight. They have done box sets like that before. Something like... Ooh, I don't know. They did the one with the demons, where it was Khorne demons versus Slaanesh demons. So if you play demons, that works together. 5th Chaos God rises. We'll see. Right. Let's pick a different faction. Leagues of Votann. Leagues of Votann, their strengths and weaknesses. Okay, we'll get vaguely back on topic. They have kind of good guns, but they're slightly better versions of Imperial guns. They have a small roster of units. It is minor, the amount of armor penetration they get. They're slow and stunty. Unless you're focusing a lot on the vehicles or the bikes, they're too slow to play the game. The Space Dwarf concept, you can either like it or hate it. It's very much going to depend on how you feel about the idea of Space Dwarves. These Berserkers, I don't like the idea, and they die very easily to Overwatch. They're a bit more elite, but they're toughness 5, 4+ save, and 1 wound. So they're closer to an Orc, which kind of matches some of the lore. That's a grudgeon. Yeah, I mean, the squat should just be... You know, we should just don't even need a squat codex. Put them into the Imperial Agent unaligned codex thing. It's better for them. It's much better. If you're going to put the Deathwatch in, put the Leagues of Votann in there as well. Yeah, they have void suits, apart from when they're going to take their shirts off. Land trains were fun. But I think Games Workshop is moving away from having super heavy tanks and kits. So I don't think we'll be getting a land train at any point. Maybe a land engine, where it's just the front, but they already have 2 vehicles. If they have a 3rd vehicle, then 30% of their range is vehicles. They very much need the judgment tokens. They were bad at the start of the edition because of how few judgment tokens they got, which was to compensate for how they were, well, at the end of 9th edition. Very powerful. Votann mech? Perhaps. You think they need more vehicles? Well, I don't think they have it here. As there we go. There's their walker. There's their mech. You already have that. You don't need more. Votann a flyer. They're moving away from flyers as well. So they're not going to give them a fortification or a flyer. They'll give them the trenchcoat men, which are to pre-order now. Alternatively, we can have... what do we got? The jump pack guys from the kill team? It could be them. Dread Knight-esque? Oh, I don't know. Anti-mechanized? Yeah, maybe. They're a little bit elite. Their points are certainly more on the elite side, but they don't have the punch or the defense to be able to keep up with that. No, they have some strengths, they have some weaknesses. I think we vaguely covered them. There's not a lot of units, there's not a lot to talk about. Necrons have a lot more going for them. Where's my Necron notes? They can be very tough with their resurrection stuff and annoying to kill. That's one of the things. Depending on how resurrection works, it's either, oh yeah, these are super powerful and not fun to play against, or it barely does anything and it's like the Genestealer Cult Army Special rule, why even have it? This is a cowboy. The destroyers don't do a lot. The Flayed One miniatures are probably one of the most redone miniatures in all of 40k. They've had about 3 or 4 variations of them, where they just keep doing them and still like, oh yeah, why is no one buying these Flayed Ones? Do we need more models? Maybe. Maybe. Yeah. Flayed Ones have a special ability to drain the wallet. You can sort of, but not really, just make them from regular Necron warriors. I do generally like the Necron warriors being redone, and when you have this gun, you can feasibly say, hey, these are immortals. Welcome to the channel. because it has a double barrel thing, which I think of more as an immortal gun than the regular Gauss Flayer, which is a standard Necron one. We can also see with the Necrons who got their stuff in 9th edition how much of their units, because you don't get a full revamp when you get your starter box set. We saw it with the Orks, with the Copters, as we mentioned. The Necrons still need to get their Locust Destroyers have new models. The Heavy Destroyers we have, but the Locust Destroyers are still using the you stick the glass tube in there. Yeah, maybe if they're boxes of 10 instead of 5, that would be better. I think a lot of people got Necrons because they were in the Imperial magazine and they were in the 9th edition starter set. They're easy to paint. Because you can spray them, and then how much you do, like the armor compared to the exoskeleton, is entirely up to you. Need a new Nightbringer. That's another thing when people think about, oh, the base size is so important. It's not. The Necron Deceiver, the Necron Nightbringer are on 40mm bases. The larger ones, like the Transcendent Catan and the Void Dragon, are on 100mm bases? Yeah. Don't trash talk the green tube. I'm okay with the green tube. I think the green tube was a clever concept. I like that they included it. But it doesn't quite match the rest of the model range now. Their lore is fine. I still remember it from like 2nd edition Necron Raiders, who were like scary robots that turned up and then fled. Or 3rd edition when they were mindless, pretty much, and controlled by the Star Gods. But then they got all personalities and shenanigans. But people like the book, The Something in the Divine. Someone in the Divine. It's a book that everyone likes. So they have a lot more characters. Infinite and the Divine. That's the one. Yeah. They also have a problem with anti-tank firepower. Like taking anti-tank firepower or giving it out. Because all of their guns pretty much have lethal hits. So they are okay. They do like armor penetration. What they did with this Necron Warrior gun is better in this edition. I'm fine with it having no armor penetration. It suits the rules of 10th edition. And then their Flayed, the double Gauss Flayer, has AP1, I think. Do I have the Necron Codex on quick? I do not. Let's go get the Necron Codex and see what it looks like. It's Xenos. We just got the index because it's the same. Most of their units are the same. For some reason, I've opened Genestealer Cult almost by habit. Necron Index. Necron Warriors are somewhere in here. There we are, Necron Warriors. Yeah, Strength 5, AP -1 on the Gauss Reaper, but it's half the range. In 9th edition, the Gauss Reaper was just so much better than the Gauss Flayer. 14 inches rather than 24. Higher strength, -2 AP. It was the obvious choice. There was no reason to pick anything else. Biggest weakness is they're slow, and that's where you use the 2 detachments which counter it. Which is either the Canoptek Court, where you go heavy into Wraiths, which have high movement, or you go with the Tomb Teleport one. That's the one. Yeah, so Wraiths are fast. I'm going to need to get a cup of tea in a second. Hypercrypt Legion. There it is. Oh, the Hypercrypt Legion. The teleport one that is, in a detachment rule, very similar to what the Grey Knights have already. So that speed counters their very slow movement. Yeah, kind of busted. It's very strong. I like the... And I've just closed it. Why did I close it? Army rule, detachment rules, the Awakened Dynasty. I like the Awakened Dynasty. I like the idea of, if we're going to focus on characters, you get +1 to hit if you have a character in the unit. A Genestealer Cult detachment that focuses on characters suits them very well. If the Battle Sisters had a detachment, one of theirs, say the Angelic Host, that if you have a character in a unit you get +1 to hit, that would be amazing. I could see it very easily becoming the preferred choice over the Hallowed Martyrs detachment. And I'm interested to see what the Holy Trinity detachment will look like. If it's about guns, I can get behind that. I do remember when Wraiths were a Necron warrior with a snake body. Oh, that's my Discord that's pinging. Don't worry about it. I like the Undying Dynasty. Yeah. Doomstalkers can deal with elite infantry. They can, and there's a few of them. Yeah, very... They're a staple, I think. The big cannon walkers. Definitely. Kind of afraid of Battle Sisters. Penitent Host might be good. We'll be seeing in videos that I do in the coming week how great the Penitent Host is. We have limited information right now. But we'll see. We'll see. Right, I'm thinking it's time for a cuppa because I've been talking for 2 hours now. So we'll do a couple of minutes tea break. I'm not going anywhere. Well, I'm going to the kettle and back. So you don't need to go anywhere. And now is maybe a good time for me to mention, just for when I get back, that in the description I have a link to my Ko-Fi, which means that if you were to put money in the Ko-Fi link that's there, then this blue thing at the bottom would pop up and it would have a message, and I can read out your message and I get money which will support me through June. Thanks for that. I'll see you in a couple of minutes. Don't click the wrong button, don't click the wrong button, don't click the wrong button. Be right back. The microphone is on. Correct button. Correct button. Good. Since I'm only planning to stream for another hour-ish, we'll see how we do. Let's talk about the core of the people who want to, you know, the core audience I have. So we'll be talking about the Genestealer Cult next. It works as one of the Xenos factions, so we'll be doing all about them. Now, should there be a detachment that focuses on or allows them to take NIDs? Probably not. I think we're stretching the rules a bit already. Acolytes are on 32mm base. Yeah, I'm going to press the wrong button at some point. I know. Oh yeah. So, Tyranids. I think we're pushing it already where we do have Imperial Guard, because it means if some of their units are particularly good, then we're going to end up with a much better army. And regardless of, like, how good Genestealer Cult are meant to be, if Imperial Guard go up, Genestealer Cult go up as well. Melee detachment should let pure streams be battle line. I mean, I'm hoping so. It would be nice if we had a detachment or just anything that let the Genestealers be the Genestealer Cult. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to do some Battle Sisters videos next, because I know last week was very heavily Genestealer Cult focused. Then we'll get back to what's going to be the Genestealer Cult attachments and things, because I didn't do a video on what the Genestealer Cult detachments will look like, or expectations. I did one for the Battle Sisters, so that's still around. I don't know if we got the worst combat patrol box. It is much reduced in power. Chat, someone mentioned mods. Someone mentioned microwaving coffee. Can we ban them? Can we get them banned, please? Thank you. I'm not more quiet since I went to get tea, I think. Maybe I'm just not as loud. Maybe I'm sipping tea at the moment. You need to know, I went with Tetley's everyday tea, and I put the tea bag in, then the hot water, then the tea bag stews for a little bit, but not too long. Then you take it out, then you add a little bit of milk to get the colour right and the flavour. And then I'm not doing sugar at the moment, I'm doing sweeteners. Because I need to cut down the amount of sugar I have. Just generally, it's something I'm meant to do. But not really. Not milk first. No. Because then you get such weak tea. You put the milk in first. I'm too British. I'm terribly sorry. I know no other way to be. I mean, the sweetener is just a little thing. It's there. Whereas with sugar, you can just stir it in at the end. As long as you stir it, that's the important thing. Can't have sugar just at the end. Oh good, we've started to debate about tea and stuff. Let's get back to Genestealer Cult, though. Right, strengths, weaknesses, Genestealer Cult. Best strength, surprise. Doesn't matter what you're doing, you are in charge of the game, you decide where you're gonna fight. Even if you go second, you go first. Because not a lot of your units will be on the table, probably, and then you get to strike against the enemy first, wherever you want. The old combat patrol is gone, and the Hachette magazine, even in the UK, the stuff for the Genestealer Cult may not be out for another year. So we're entering kind of a dry spell in terms of getting cheap Genestealer Cult models, which is gonna suck a bit. Because I know that a lot of the influx of Genestealer Cult players I've had are because the combat patrol is so good. It's annoying when my livelihood depends so much on what some company does. But we don't have cheap models, there's a lot of detail, they look nice. Pretty easy to kit bash from anything. If you can get cheap Imperial Guard models, they also work. If you want to play Imperial Guard and also play Genestealer Cult, that is very much an option. And with a 50% Brood Brothers either detachment or army, it's gonna be just playing Imperial Guard, but they deep strike. So you don't need the Elysian drop troops. Just play Genestealer Cult. Same rule. Hope the bikes and trucks are good in the new codex. Well, here's the thing. They're not going to get the army special rule, which means you're discouraged from taking them. Unless a detachment rule gives them bonuses, is it going to be as good as just having a couple of trucks or something in the Ascension Day detachment, which is focused around shooting and battle line units? If you want to go combat, I like the idea of a combat detachment. Sorry, just someone said microwave again. It's thrown me off so much. Mods! Mods, what are you doing? So, yeah, I don't think there's going to be some adding in AdMech either. It's an idea, but I don't think it'll happen. No, no hidden detachment. There's just going to be the 1, 2, 3, 4 5 detachments? Was it 5 detachments for Genestealer Cult? 4 detachments. Brood Brothers Focus 1, Combat Focus 1, Ascension Day rework. And don't know the last one. It's written down somewhere. It's fine. I'll come to it when I come to do the video proper about it. Yeah, some more hit and run tactics would be nice. I could very much get behind some hit and run tactics because we already have Return of the Shadows. That's a good stratagem. And One with the Darkness. That works with the hit and run tactics. I can like that. If we had a detachment that's more focused around that, say something more with the Pauper Princes, that could also work in the idea of we have, I just said it, the Awakened Dynasty for the Necrons. You get +1 to hit if you have a character in the unit. So we have an army that's already very heavily focused on the characters. If you try Genestealer Cult without the characters, it doesn't work so well. 120 neophytes is only good if you have the Primus, if you have the Nexus, if you have units like that to build it up. So a detachment that rewards you for having the characters, that could easily give Ascension Day as it stands a run for its popularity. You love the cult part and the Renegades and Heretics? Yeah. So you can just go heavy on the infantry. They are very much infantry focused. So, here's some more of the problems with Genestealer Cult, their weaknesses. Even if you take the tanks, even if you take the bikes, we are an infantry focused army. Any kind of weapons, especially with the coming meta, that's going to be focusing on countering battle line units, and most battle line units are good at killing other battle line units, neophytes as an example, we're going to suffer so much. Really suffer. We don't mention the blast keyword. That just hurts us so much. Oh, I've got 20 neophytes. Great, I've got D6 shots +3 + blast. Oh no. Oh no. That's gonna suck. Tau infantry dominance? Maybe Kroot infantry dominance. We'll have to see. Our army special rule as Genestealer Cult is bad. So it often just doesn't come into play at all. Imagine if you had to roll a dice to see if Oath of Moment works. I mean, you already have to roll a dice for the Chaos Space Marine Dark Pacts, but you get the Dark Pact regardless of what the dice roll is. Some of the things that do a bit better, like with change of the detachments, you get bonuses if you pass the Dark Pact, rather than if you take the Dark Pact. But it always happens, regardless. There's no random element to it. So it's not a great army special rule. I don't expect it to be reworked in the Codex. Yeah, I hate what they took from us with the army rule change. I think it was necessary just to make friends in the community again. Reanimation protocols can be kind of the same. Low rolls hurt, but reanimation protocols is on everything in the Necron army. The tanks get it. The Catan get it. Genestealer Cult tanks and bikers do not. Yeah. Metamorphs, we don't know if they're going to be battle line. We're assuming they'll be battle line, but otherwise you're limited to 30 metamorphs. Because they're not battle line at the moment. They should be, because they're just acolytes, but the Tyranids have gotten closer. So they should be. Yeah, there's a counterplay. Oh yeah, there's also the counterplay with the markers being able to remove them by the enemy. Fast enemies, like Eldar, can get rid of them. Dark Eldar as well. There's no way to stop reanimation protocols, other than by wiping out the entire unit. Which has always been the same tactic for every edition. You wipe out entire units at a time and then they don't come back. I also like the Genestealer Cult transports. I like the Cult truck model. Might be getting one. Can't say. With the detachment we have as Genestealer Cult, it's a shooting detachment. Aberrants are good. Metamorphs are not. Even if you give them special characters, like I like the Locust, but they don't really need the Locust to go first because they have fight on death. Acolytes need the Locust because fight first with mining tools is great. I do want the trucks to be worth taking. Yeah. Reanimation is either really good and game breaking, or it's kind of there. We've sort of seen the same with our Army Special Rule, the Cult Ambush, at the start of the edition, compared to now. It either is too much, or it's not. But there was a lot of things limiting... Oh, welcome to the channel. There were a lot of things limiting how good we were, because the tokens could be picked up. So if you were winning, you absolutely won. It was the old, like, Vampire Counts thing. Hello, I play Vampire Counts. Can you tell? You either win, and win with the game by having more models you start with, or you lose so very quickly and so very badly that getting new units back does nothing. Yeah, it's the way to playing around the Cult Ambush rule, and yes, people could learn to play around it. That's similar to learning how to screen. It takes some time, and some people are better at it than others, and it's less so in a casual setting, very heavily done in a competitive setting. But it's pretty easy to counter, and we miss a turn regardless. Yeah. Reanimation is lose less, not win more. I can see that, yeah. The Patriarch should be better. I think the Patriarch should be better. I think the worst model we could have got was a new character that's a Psyker, when we already have 2 Psyker models. But I'll take it. I mean, I'm not going to buy the model. It does not interest me in the slightest. If you bite a Patriarch, how messed up are you? It's only if the Patriarch bites you. Give a Genestealer Cult a green tide-like rule, or like the Endless Swarm for Tyranids. I'm hoping to see that in one of the detachments. If we have a swarmy style thing, which may be where the battle line things get shifted, and then Ascension Day can be more about shooting and coming from deep strike. Oh yeah, the Nightmare Genestealers are kind of fun for Necromunda, but their whole lore is that they're way weaker, so regular gangers can fight a Genestealer one-on-one in Necromunda. So they're not like how we're going to be meant to be. 2 wounds on a Genestealer feels a lot better in this edition. Sometimes surprised me that Genestealer Cult is an army at all. I know, but then we also have the Leagues of Votann as an army. Sometimes, some editions, we have Harlequins as an army. Crew sort of an army, but not an army. Yeah, it's weird what is an army and what isn't. I mean, World Eaters, I don't think World Eaters should be separate. They don't have the units to be separate. Well, if there's a detachment that made the Aberrants a battle line. Oh, I can't see that happening. But it's a possible thing. Yeah, vehicle detachment being good. Oh yeah, that's the other one I missed. Yeah, so we have a guard detachment, which may be where you get your 50% Imperial Guard Brood Brothers limit is higher. Or it could be that always, for all detachment, it's 50%. We'll have to wait and see, or I'll have to rewatch it and then infer. Then we have the vehicle and bike focused one. Then we have a combat focused one. Then we have a horde focused one. Then we have Ascension Day. So yeah, it's 5. Battle Sisters are getting 4. They should have 6. Yeah, Genestealers in the lore, cutting apart Terminators. Tabletop Genestealers. Ah, it's a lasgun. Oh. Oh, yeah, right. Aliens, Colonial Marines, the game. I did play that game. It was alright. I found it alright as a game. But yeah, it's not as scary. Because they have to vary very much between, is it Alien, where it's one of them and it's horrifying and it can easily take down 7 civilians, or 6 civilians, but not a cat. Or do you have more of an Aliens, where you're fighting enemies that have guns and training, and there's a bit more dying in hordes. The first alien you fight in that game that's like stealthy and stuff, and I fought it and I was like, I'm not enjoying it. No, I was enjoying it a lot, as it leapt from a wall and slapped me, and I was like, I am so weak. Why can I not see it? Why is the room so dark? It was fun. Then the game kind of got Most of the time you end up fighting just generic android enemies, or there's predators as well, because you have to do alien versus predator now all the time. So this is a battle should have 6 minimum. Yeah, Space Marines have 7 detachments. Space Marines have 7 detachments. Because they also have the first company, plus their 6 chapters. Someone speaking French. Okay, I think we've covered mostly Genestealer Cult, apart from the detachment rule at the moment. It can't deal with Orks. It can't deal with combat armies generally. Unless you have walls of Genestealers, we struggle against combat armies, because all of our stratagems are to do with shooting and countering enemy shooting, like Return to the Shadows, like One with Darkness. None of that helps you if there's a chopper in your face. So there's that. Oh, Deathwatch veteran Death Star almost took down a Knight Dominus. Very nice. Very good. Right, let's see what we've got here. Tyranids. Tyranids! Yeah, I see Barb Gaunts becoming very popular because of their blasts and their heavy special rule, which means they can be hitting on a 3+ with blast for a Tyranid? That's pretty good. So, Tyranids. I have notes on the Tyranids. Tyranids. A lot of different ways to play. If you want to go Horde, you can. There's sort of limits. Some people used to have like 200 Gaunts. Now you're limited to like 120 Termagants, 120 Hormagants, because the Neuro Gaunts are not battle line, if I remember correctly. No, I think they're not battle line. So you don't want as many of them. And they kind of replaced the Spine Gaunts, which was Termagants, but you gave them a Spine Fist, and because points per model was a thing, they were cheaper that way. So that was just your, here's some bodies, hope you have enough bullets. It's a fun way to do it. Or you can go monsters, or you can go a mix. There's lots of ways to play Tyranids. Because of their army special rule, they mostly ignore Battle Shock. Because of Synapse, which they always have. The Shadow and the Warp depends on how good the enemy is at ignoring Battle Shock. But the Tyranids, playing against them as I have done a lot since the start of the edition, they struggle quite a bit against armor. Even and especially their monsters. If we go through to the Hive Tyrant, their Venom Cannon is not that great. It used to be, this is the anti-tank thing. Doesn't do anti-tank anymore. Kind of weak. Yeah, I don't even play Tyranids and I have 40 Termagants. I have a few things. And when the Hachette magazine comes out, which is in August in the UK, and maybe around Christmas time in like the United States and Canada and Australia, well, Australia maybe even later. But then you'll be like, oh yeah, now I have a Captain Flappy Bat. Where is he? There he is. Shrike Alpha Prime. But they need just regular Tyranid Shrikes. And as we've seen for the Necrons, you don't get your full range for quite a while. So we may be waiting another year or another edition before we get regular Tyranid Shrikes. Just to wait out how good it's going to be before you can get lots of that one model and call it a unit. You have 3 of them already? There you go. You don't need any more. Just call them Tyranid Warriors with melee weapons and that works. No reason not to. You don't play Tyranids, but you're stuck with a Leviathan Tyranid half? If you put it on eBay for like 45, 50 pound, which is like, I can't do quick calculations in dollars and there's so many different kinds of dollars. But a number that is higher than that, but is of equal value to 40 pounds, it'll sell very quickly. People still really want it. And especially when the Tyranid Combat Patrol is not as good as just the Leviathan half of the box set. And already costs a lot. So if you can say, here's all of the Leviathan stuff for less than £100, people will take it. Wait 2 years and it'll be worth more? Maybe. Maybe. It depends on the Hachette Combat Patrol magazine. I would sell it before that Combat Patrol magazine comes around, which is August. So you have a couple of months if you want to sell it. Yeah, push-fit models on Tyranid Hordes, totally fine. Push-fit Termagants are brilliant as an idea. What I don't want is push-fit Sisters of Battle. Yeah. But the Tyranids struggle against armor, generally. Especially in this edition, where armor has gotten better. The Tau. Where's my notes on the Tau? Small empire, barely worth mentioning. That's one way to look at it. They're very easy to paint, because it's just pretty flat surfaces. They have good guns, and 40k is a game where you play with guns. So in pretty much every edition, apart from like 3rd edition, when they did exist, but only briefly, guns is a good idea. Their ballistic skill is average, at 4+, which is good for tabletop rules characteristics. Otherwise, if it was 3+, they would just be an Eldar army. Oh yeah, we've got civilians with guns and they hit on a 3+. You're describing Eldar. And we also have some skimmers. Yeah, that's Eldar. The Fire Prism is a... someone asked in chat before, what do I think of the Fire Prism? I think for a Fire Prism, 180 points is very good, and because it has many firing modes, it can deal with whatever the meta is, whatever the problem in front of you is. I think Fire Prisms are a really good choice. Right. Tau, splitting fire gets bad. I'm okay with that army special rule. It's a fun, flavorful army special rule, but splitting fire is bad and you need to spot for people. I like it. It's thematic. It's not the most tabletop competitive friendly one. You can counter the, oh, we don't have very good, we have to split fire stuff with multiple small units. That works. Easy to paint. You can go all Kroot if you want, which is a fun way to do it. And importantly, and I expect to see this for all the detachments, even though it is focused on one kind of unit, you can take any kind of unit. So it's a bike and vehicle detachment. Yeah, but you can still take a lot of infantry. It doesn't work as well, but you can. You can take all the Tau battlesuits if you want in the Kroot detachment. The Kroot can work, especially with the battle line things coming up with Prime Nexus cards, but they really lack armor penetration. And they messed up the Crisis battlesuits when they changed them to be, yeah, this is 3 units now, not 1. It kind of sucks. They do have Kroot. Yeah, my Deep Strike Knight would like to say hello. Retaliation Cadre gets right in their face and sees how that goes. Yeah, yeah. It can go quite well though. Especially if you're doing like a sort of a hit and run, and it's a bit transport focused as well, that detachment. That's the one that does Montcar rather than Cao Yun, yeah? Or is the Retaliation Cadre the battlesuit one? Can't remember. The one that does Montcar is transport and getting really close. The one that is battlesuits and kind of Firesight enclaves also likes to get quite close. Oh yeah, the Combat Patrol at least comes with 1 Crisis suit. It's a Crisis suit character, that's okay. Got a tag team. Strength, shooting, weaknesses, close combat phase. Yeah, that about sums them up. I don't really need to spend much time on them recently. Yeah, I saw the one guy with the Kroot army that did really well at tournaments and got a pretty high win rate. Because he was the only one doing it. Which is like how someone ran an Imperial Agents army and won 3 out of 5 games. That was the only recorded like tournament thing that they went to with that army. So 60% win rate for pure Imperial Agents. Oh, Overwatch was kind of a pain to do in 8th edition and then in 9th edition, where it was like, oh, 9th edition, everyone loses Overwatch, it's now a stratagem, except for the Tau. And it was like, yeah, try and keep it on. Oh, they called the Montcar detachment Montcar. That's pretty original for Games Workshop. The Retaliation Cadre is the battlesuits, right. So there's 2 detachments that want to get up close. And the Kroot detachment. So 3 out of 4 of the detachments want you to get really close. Kroot are doing quite well. I haven't played against Kroot yet. I hope to. The problem with the Kroot is they're only good in that one detachment. I mean, they have the sticky objectives rule, which is nice for all Tau detachments. Especially the Retaliation Cadre, where you have a lot of battlesuits and you don't have a lot of units that can just sit at the back. So that's why you take regular Kroot. Yeah. So a lot of the detachments want you to get really close, and strike teams with a 30-inch range are the traditional way to play Tau. That is indeed the problem. Right, we'll move on from Tau. Have we done all the alien factions? We have done all the alien factions. Did we do all the Space Marines? We did all the Space Marines. So, it's a toss-up between Armies of the Imperium and Forces of Chaos, and I'm going to go with the Battle Sisters next. Because we want to. Because we have penitent engines, we have sisters on 32mm bases, and we have sisters on, I think, 50mm bases. These models, the Paragon Warsuits, are an absolute pain to build. That left arm there, the right arm there that you can see, is about 4 pieces. There is no reason for it to be 4 pieces. It depends on the model as well, because some of them are, Don't like it, don't like it. And I don't want to sound like someone on Twitch chat, but where feet? Where is this lady's feet? There should be some feet somewhere. At least with the squats, like stilts. At least with the Dread Knight. Then we have very obvious place to put the feet. Are the feet inside the knees? I don't know. It's kind of weird. Kind of weird. What I think of the new Battle Force and Combat Patrol will be the next video I do. So I won't answer that just now. Yeah, ballet shoes might be the option. Weirdly, as soon as I've said Battle Sisters, 5 more people joined chat. How interesting. So, what are our strengths and weaknesses? It could be inside... Oh, inside the lower torso. So bunched up in front of them. Kind of like the Tau are in their battlesuits. That's a fun idea. Get your knees to your chin and stick your arms out. Feet only with donations. On an entirely unrelated note, there is a Ko-fi link at the top of the description if you'd like to give me some tip money to help me get through June, and we'll see how long I can keep doing 1 video a day. I'm almost certainly going to lapse in the coming week. I have a lot of stuff to do, so we may be getting like 4 or 5 videos in the coming week. Yeah. Heavy bolters, heavy flamers, or multi-melters if you could only pick one. I mean, I do like all of them. I've less been a fan of multi-melters over the editions, but last 3 editions, you want multi-melters. Now, the interesting thing about the Sisters of Battle meta at the moment, all of the units are good. All of the units in the index perform a good role. I don't think there's anything that isn't seeing play. All of it works somewhere, which is great. We're seeing a lot of Battle Sister units and Battle Sister armies that focus on different things. We've seen lots of immolators and tanks, and doing a mechanized Battle Sisters list, it works well. We've seen lots of Paragon Warsuits and Penitent engines. That also works well. We've seen lots and lots of Battle Sisters, and that also works well. The thing that ties them all together is a heavy focus on melter guns. I know that melter guns only wound on a 5+ against tanks, but we are AP -4 in an edition where it's very difficult to get above AP -2. That's what you have. Invulnerable saves are much rarer. And if it's a 6+ invulnerable save, it's not really doing anything. So if you have lots of different tanks, we're seeing Dominions and Retributors getting out of Immolators. They have multi-melters or melter guns. They're re-rolling all of their wound rolls. We have the multi-melters on the Immolators. I prefer the Immolation Flamers, but we have the multi-melters there. If you're going the battlesuit route, these battlesuits, the Nundums, it's 3 lots of multi-melters and Morwen Val. You can maybe do another unit, but if you're taking 3 Paragon Warsuits, you're giving them all the twin multi-melter, well, you're giving them all the multi-melters, and you're putting it with Morwen Val for full rerolls to hit and full rerolls to wound. The Holy Trinity is not seeing play, multi-melters are seeing play in the Holy Trinity of infantry, vehicles, and mech walkers. Oh, you're most welcome, Jank Tank. Yes, and we have the Tank Shock. Tank Shock and Grenades are the Battle Sisters anti-armor. So if you have the Strength 12 Mace, or if you have on the Penitent Engine Strength 10, I think it is, Buzzsaws, that's really good. Battle Sisters, regular Battle Sisters, Grenades, if you have a regular Inquisitor with them. Oh no, you only get the back if it's a battle tactic, so you don't get that because it's a war gear tactic. You used to be able to get a lot of grenades out of Battle Sister units. That's our anti-tank. Hey, I'm a Battle Sister squad, I do 3 mortal wounds to your tank. That's very good. And when you have melter guns, that pairs well with the army special rule, where you can pick a dice to become the damage dice. So now you're always doing max damage or very close to max damage. Every time it seems when I'm playing like Space Marines, oh, I've got a las cannon, I rolled to damage, yeah, I rolled a 1 or a 2. That's just how it is. You don't get that with Battle Sisters, because you don't have las cannons, but you don't get that with Battle Sisters because you have miracle dice instead. What is luck? I make my own luck by having my units die and give me miracle dice. We also have a decent save this edition. A 3+ save will see us through, because with -1 or -2, we're still getting it. We're not really seeing our 6+ invulnerable save ever come into play. Tell me in chat, have you had a time this edition where you've actually used your 6+ invulnerable save on any kind of infantry? It occasionally comes up with tanks if they're hit by a melter gun. But -3 AP, that takes us to a 6+ armor save. You don't need it. -4 AP, oh, then. But only then. We have 4 detachments in the upcoming codex. One could be focused very much on the Sisters Infantry, but would that be Hallowed Martyrs or the Holy Trinity? Not sure. We know that the Penitent Engines and the Repentia presumably are going in the combat-focused detachment. We know that there's one about flying people and all of the Seraphim and Zephyrim and having auras, which may just be 1 command point to get a 6+ something something. I am arguing for a 5++ to replace it. I very much would like that. Yes. Oh yeah, the Melter Marines, whatever they're called. The ones in Gravis armor, they work well for the Space Marines as well. Your miracle dice are always 1 to 3. That is the drawback of it being random. You get your bad rolls, which then last, or you can get better rolls that you assign when you want them. So you've got to think of the 6 ways to generate miracle dice, which I have a video on. Then you can get lots of them that are nice. Then use the Dialogus and the Imagifier, optional Imagifier, because I'm a penetration, not that great. You need to be at AP -2 before you need it on a sister squad, but it also gives you better miracle dice for units that die nearby. I think we've got all the new sisters units we're going to get for a while. No sniper sisters, no drop cathedrals, no drop churches, none of that for a while. We just have the one character, and that's us done. But we're no longer as overlooked by Games Workshop. Much like the Dark Eldar from like 3rd edition to 5th edition, but the Battle Sisters were from 3rd edition through to 8th edition. We didn't get anything. Yeah, can we have gun Celestians? That'd be nice. Super small units seem to have gone away. It does, and I like that. Because the problem with 9th edition and their cards was it required you to have a unit of 5 or more to actually do some of the actions. Because they were trying to get you to stop doing, have 2 Crusaders, have 2 Death Cult Assassins, and they do everything. Now we're seeing cards that are like, oh yeah, this is just any unit, or, as upcoming in the Prior Nexus, bonus victory points and things if you're a battle line unit. I really like how they've done the mission cards in 10th edition, at least the Leviathan deck. Yeah, there's one mission that's like not great, maybe one of the special rules isn't good, but generally, they're really good. There's nothing where I'm drawing it and being like, oh, well this is pointless because this requires me to kill Psychers. There are no Psychers on the board. There is always at least one tank. I don't think I've ever drawn Bring It Down and found that there's no enemy vehicles on the board at all. Ha ha ha, imagine if they got shield Celestians. I know the idea of like gun breacher style Celestians. It's okay. It's okay. But we already have shield Celestians. Yeah. So I like the mission cards that we've got. Really impressed by them. In the past, it was... oh, was it 7th edition, 6th edition? You could do the random missions, and I quite like that, rather than it just being fixed. But you rolled a d66, which is where you roll 1d6 to consult a chart, and then roll another d6 to get the 1 in 6 thing from that chart. 3 of the sets of missions on the first d6 were the same. It was Take and Hold, Seize and Restrain, Grab and Maintain, which was various ways of saying, go take an objective and then keep it for a turn. And then the second dice you rolled would be 1 to 6 on which objective number it is. Yeah. Crusaders are currently part of the Battle Sisters army, yes. We don't know if they'll become Imperial agents in the future, which is where they sort of were before, where Imperial Guard also had access to them. Oh, you draw Bring It Down only after you kill the enemy tank or monster. I think you still get victory points if you've wiped all them out. That's just 3 victory points for doing nothing. It's only like 2 or 3 victory points. But that's good. An upgrade that gives bonus miracle dice on death would probably be better. We do have that already in the Hallowed Martyrs attachment. That's one of the enhancements. So the weaknesses of the Battle Sisters. Invulnerable save is basically pointless, but we're paying for it. Snatch and Squat. Yeah, that's one of them. Has taken hold. We have low toughness. Even the Paragon Warsuits are not that tough. They're a little bit tougher than a Terminator, but not really. And they cost more points. Games Workshop constantly overpoints the sisters. It sort of made sense in like 6th edition when a Tactical Marine was 13 points and a Battle Sister was 11 or 12 points. 1 less point of toughness, 1 less weapon skill, same ballistic skill, 1 less strength. Otherwise we're the same. And if you're being hit by something that is AP3, which at the time, way armor saves worked, it just wiped out the save completely, or it didn't. So if you're hit by AP4 and you have a 3+ save, it does nothing. If you're hit by AP3, you get no save. Battle Sisters still had that invulnerable save when it was very valuable. Now we're just a bit overpointed compared to Marines. Yeah, instant death isn't a thing anymore, but high damage very much is. So melter guns in 8th edition onwards basically became instant death weapons for characters. You have 3 wounds, great. So I roll d6 plus 2. Yeah, I kill your character. Yeah, Warsuits as a vehicle is a blessing and a curse. It depends if the enemy brings it down. They're going to bring it down, they bring it down. Do you remember when a 3+ save and toughness 4 was a big deal? Yeah, now you have 2 wounds on top of that, so I like the diversity of profiles we now have in this edition of 40k. I know that toughness 5 orcs can be a bit weird, but at least it's a step off from just being space marines that are naked with a knife. That's kind of what their profile was. Lower points or stronger stats? Absolutely stronger stats. Then I don't need to carry as many models to go to the game. That's what I like. Admech players right now are desperate for better stats and not lower points. Oh great, you need to buy another 40 Skitari until you can field a full army. They don't want that. They want their models to feel cool. 10 points for a sister, 16 points for an intercessor seems okay. I mean, it's 13 points for a tactical marine, which is maybe a better baseline. Because intercessors are rarely taken at the moment. You can take like a squad of 5, especially in smaller games, to sticky up some objectives, if you have nothing else that does that. Especially useful, well, for any kind of elite detachment you're going for. Yeah. Or just give 30k models to Admech. Yes. That works. A flying army of toughness 4 marines is apparently squishy in the current meta. I can sort of see that. When you're deep striking and then wanting to charge, it's a lot harder than when you're Genestealer Cult and you deep strike and just want to shoot, which is most of Genestealer Cult units. Our detachment rule does give you the bonuses in the charge phase as well, but it relies on you passing your roll. Okay. That's us for the sisters. Adeptus Mechanicus. I just need to close the blinds real quick. It's looking like the sun might be coming in. We can't have that. Come on. Track my face. Here is my face. Track the face. There we go. We've got it back. Yeah. It was meant to be rainy all day. Now we're getting slight sunny spells, and that's just awful. Just awful. Imagine if aircraft got an errata where they can be on the board turn 1. Maybe. I just don't see them doing anything with flyers. I know the Admech got some flyers, but no. That looks like an Imperial Guard model. I look at that and I'm like, oh yeah, that's the Imperial Guard guy. I know they have a range of models, but I don't think they're unique enough. The Adeptus Mechanicus are expensive to buy, fiddly, high detail models. I mean, look at that guy. That's not a character. That is just an infantry squad leader. Look at all the pipes between the legs and on the chest, and the head crest, and all the details that you can go into. And if you want to do that pattern on the robes, you've got a lot of models to do that pattern on the robes. They're fiddly, they're thin, the gluing is a bit difficult. It's fine to collect a few because the models do look quite cool. But you don't want it as an army. We're not using the 30k war crime weapons, it's just Imperial Guard Horde. Basically Imperial Guard stats. I think they have a 4+ save now on most of their Skitari stuff. But that's it. You're playing Imperial Guard without the tanks. Without the artillery. You have a special rule, which is Rad Bombardment, which is your artillery. As an aesthetic, I kind of like the idea of religious but tech. It's medieval robots. It's kind of cool as a concept. What's their positives, though? Strength look cool, weakness painting? Yeah, that's about sums it up. Robots are fun. Ballistic skill 3+. At that point, you're playing Battle Sisters with 1 worse save. Then it's just a Battle Sister unit with a 4+ save instead of a 3+ save. I like that they're a 4+ weapon skill, ballistic skill. It kind of suits them. But there's always going to be is there enough to differentiate between Battle Sisters and Imperial Guard? Because all 3 of those factions are toughness 3. Yeah. I think it's a bit before steampunk. It's more medieval punk. Kind of. Yeah, it's got a bit of the steampunk vibe. Then it goes in for a bit more like body horror sometimes. Sometimes. It's an yeah, you've put it quite right. Naked 64 Snake. This is an elite looking army, but you play it as a horde. So anytime the Battle Sisters points go down, which they sort of did at one point in 9th edition, but then not at the end of 9th edition, not at all, then they were a horde, and I did not like that. I was like, oh, can I put some vehicles in? I can, but vehicles were terrible in 9th edition. Toughness 7 and some wounds, it didn't work. Yeah. Yeah, about the only way you can differentiate the Toughness 3 units, the Toughness 3 armies in the Imperium, Battle Sisters have a 3+ save, Admech have a 4+ save, Imperial Guard have a 5+ save. So you get your varying levels of save for your kind of toughness. That's about sums it up, yeah. Third-party support is amazing. I've seen quite a few of the Battle Sister ones third-party. They look quite good. I'm going to see if I can sort something out with them. Admech are just too much of a horde. Too much of a horde for my liking. What's good about them? I can't even think of what's good about them on like the tabletop, because they're performing pretty poorly apart from if you go absolute horde and the army range and the cost per model does not suit it. Push fit termagants, brilliant. 2-part orcs, well, if they weren't multi-part, if they were just the ones from the 2nd edition box and the Black Reach box, great, there's your good horde. Yeah, I'd make a toughness 3 on the Skitarian stuff, yeah. Just generally, more of the 30k stuff. When we did the preview, which was 18th, we did it like 10 days ago. Yeah, so 10 days ago, we were on, you and me, I was streaming, you were here chatting, as we are right now, and we saw a lot of cool things for the Admech in 30k. They haven't got them. So, it's, yeah. And they do have the Higgins boat, which is nice. That's kind of fun, though. I can get behind that. As an army, if we're going to stick something in Imperial Agents, Adeptus Mechanicus should be stuck in Imperial Agents. If a company like Hasbro or Amazon were to buy Games Workshop, they would probably do a Imperial Armies book, which is going to be basically Legends, which has your Admech stuff, which has a bunch of other stuff like Deathwatch, like Grey Knights, all of the stuff that doesn't sell too well, put them all together in one book. There's some keep you going rules, then no third parties allowed to print them, like officially, like fully, and that'll be it. Got a bunch of Skitari from the Imperial magazine. That's probably the cheapest way to have gotten them. Some countries, I think, oh no, I think everyone's finished the Imperial magazine now. Because that finished in the UK about April last year. Roughly. They will milk it hard? Well, of course they will. I mean, right now it seems like Games Workshop is milking all their product hard, and it'll be hard to tell the difference between evil company running it and current Games Workshop running it. It doesn't have firing deck? The Admech Transport is not firing deck? Oh. Okay. Right, do we have... Oh, yes, we should mention the Astra Militarum. There's no Imperial Agents. That's expensive as an army, even if they do become an army. And then you've got to pick your aesthetic, which is all of them. You've got your Navy people, you've got your Assassins, you've got sort of your Inquisition. We'll have to see if it is Mystery Codex Imperial Agents. How far does it go? Is it going to work as an army, or is it still just stick it in other armies? They're very much an add-on for now, and I think they will be an add-on for the future. Now, Imperial Guard, they do okay competitively. Sometimes. Imperial Guard, come on. Right. You can min-max your toughness and your hordes, depending on how much you want to go for tanks or infantry. I'm not a massive fan of all of the regiments. I mean, that looks cool. It's nice that they're in plastic. It's a bit weird that they have their own rules. Then there's Acadians, which have their own rules and models. It's a nice Sentinel. I'm okay with that as a Sentinel. Cult Sentinel. It's missing a lot of the, like, 2nd edition regiments that were really fun. The ones in metal that a lot of people still like. So, but with tanks and infantry and, I suppose, artillery, you can mix it to a consistency you like, but the current detachment relies on artillery, and Games Workshop hates artillery from a rules point of view. Because they're indirect fire, which means they're boring for the game, because regardless of the amount of terrain there is, they can always shoot you. So they're immediately less fun. Yeah. Solar Auxiliary las rifles look kind of cool. It is cheaper, 20 guys in a box. That's something I recommend also for neophytes, if you want neophytes with, like, diving helmets. A very aquatic themed one, and you can go like whatever the fish people are called from Lovecraft. That kind of feel. That can be good. We do love the Mordians. I love the Praetorians, which were Mordians but with pith helmets. You know, because I'm British. And stereotypes. Yeah. Imperial Guard usually has low win rate but high rate of people doing very well at them. Good. Good. The Higgins boat, that was, if you think of the D-Day lander, that's the Higgins boat. People have mentioned, yeah. Everyone says. The deep ones, were they deep ones? Yeah. Whatever weird village it was, I think it's the Innsmouth village, where you got creepy people. They're the deep ones, are they? Oh, the fish people are from Innsmouth. Whichever one is where you've got something aquatic related. You could have a fun aquatic thing anyway. That can work. Imperial Guard, you're probably going to need a lot of them, or you got to paint tanks. I have a tank to paint at the moment, and I don't know how I'm going to do it other than with a big brush. Because I don't want to buy a bunch of different spray paints and start masking off areas and then spraying it and then doing it again. So big brush may be just the way to go. And I'll just have to do it at some point. And then some other streamer can become my second monitor content. Maybe for when I... Sponge? Sponge is a thought. It gets a bit, like, flattened. I don't have an airbrush. And airbrushing is a whole nother thing you need to learn. I've used Victorian miniatures before for Praetorians. They're pretty good. They're pretty good. Yeah. So I don't have an airbrush, but sponging tanks is an okay idea. Or I can just get, like, a DIY wall painting brush. And then I'll look at more VTubers for my next VTuber video when I do more VTubers crossed over with 40k. That is video 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. That is video 13 to come out. So hopefully there are no leaks before then. Yeah. Big brush and multiple layers to hide the brush strokes. I did only one layer on my Razorback, and it looks kind of bad. Also, I was using yellow as a paint, and it's coming kind of green, and it is the 2nd edition tank with the metal turret, which has a las cannon and twin plasma gun. It's something I'll have to do at some point. I just prefer painting infantry. Infantry is interesting. Infantry excites me. Infantry are people. Tanks are not. Tanks are just there. I make exception, of course, if there's an organ, a pipe organ on top of it, then it's fine. Yeah. I'm thinking, because it's my Genestealer Cult, and as you've seen from all my videos, their colouring is light blue and red. Might do a bit of white in there, because it's snow theme. So I don't know. I might just look up some World War II camo colours and see how it is. But I also maybe want the Lehman Rust to work for my Praetorians. Now, they would use... They're on grass, so green is an idea, but they don't do camouflage. So I might just be painting it very red or blue. Yeah. Might just end up like that. Tanks aren't people. Okay, dreadnoughts are not tanks. Dreadnoughts are walkers. Painting walkers is okay. The Battle Sister walkers... I mean, if we go back to the Battle Sisters briefly. That is black. That is the colour black with a tabard. You just spray it black. Just then whether you want to bother painting the pipes slightly different or giving them edge highlighting or something. Yeah. Well, I would add a tank commander to the hatch, but I don't want to add an Imperial Guard tank commander when it may be a Genestealer Cult tank commander. So, Brood Brothers Helmet, possibly. I think I'll just do nothing on the Leman Russ. I've got a guy in the Chimera who has one of the, like, Imperial Guard. It's one of the French firemen's helmets. A lot like this is the kind of look I've got for the Chimera. How's the music going? Oh, good. We still have an hour left on the music. Excellent. It's a soundtrack I set up, which is all the music that I normally use as background, plus a few others. Tanks and infantry separate divisions, that could work. Have 3 squads of Praetorians, a command squad, 3 heavy weapon squads to go with your 100+ Mordians. And the Praetorians are the elite. Yes. Black is difficult to highlight. Usually highlight it with grey, especially darker grey rather than lighter grey, and that'll work. I haven't done Chaos Space Marines. I think I need to get on with the different armies. So, that's them done. That's enough for the... I need to interact with you. Not that one, that button. There we go, right. Custodes. Do we have the Sisters of Silence even here? Oh, we do. Oh, good. They actually get a mention. Right, Custodes are pretty much one profile across the entire army. They're simplistic to play, relatively easy to do, because it's just, here's a wall of dudes, I'm high toughness, high save, have fun with that. If the enemy can deal with it, it sucks. Genestealer Cult used to be really bad against Custodes. This edition, I have done really well against Custodes, because if you can get to -2 AP, that's their invulnerable save anyway. They go down relatively quickly. Chaos Marines, I did less well against them. And of course, we don't play Sisters against them, because that's just not right. We're all friends here. Sisters of Silence exist. That's about the best you can say for the Custodes, and everyone forgets they exist, even though they have a detachment. You want to get Imperial agents to do all of your different objective controlling abilities. The bolt guns having precision is really good. That can annoy a lot of characters, especially the light characters like the ones that the Genestealer Cult have. If there was a thing for like the Deathwatch, you know how they get their mission tactics? So once per game lethal hits on everything, once per game sustained hits on everything, once per game precision but only on a 6. If we had once per game just precision, that would be awesome. That would rip every character out of the enemy army. So if they're an army that relies on characters like Genestealer Cult, like Sisters of Battle, those kind of armies, like the Necrons in the Awakened Dynasty. Oh my goodness, that'd be so good. Deathwatch could just get a massive boost if we had real precision, as the Sisters of Silence here do. Otherwise, it's some dudes. Are you a character? I feel you might just be a unit character. Yeah, Custodes are another thing that should be thrown into a generic Imperial Agents thing. Yeah, the Imperial magazine did include Sisters. It wasn't quite the Combat Patrol minus the Rhino. A better way to think of it was the very first starter set in 8th edition for the launch of the Battle Sisters. Yeah. Yeah, you get pulled in by a relatively cheap army because they're high points, you spray them gold, and they're done. So they feel like they should be just Imperial agents. Sisters of Silence is I want to play Battle Sisters, but worse. They used to have 2 wounds per model in 9th edition. Now they don't. No, they don't. I think that's about all I have to say about them. Their detachments have gotten worse. They're very much a, are we good or not, right now in the meta. Right at the start of the edition, they were very, very good. Then come October, they were very, very bad. Then come... Oh, it was the other way around. Yeah, no, it was that way around. That was that way around. Then January, very, very good. Then they got their codex. Pretty bad. It feels like they're lacking just a little bit. They do really well against Chaos Space Marines, though, because they're quite combat-focused. Chaos Space Marines are going to be coming into combat. And then they can deal with the elite infantry really well. They can't fight hordes so well. They're a little bit slow because unless you put vehicles with them, it's a guy that moves 6 inches, and they're relying a lot on melee. New lore about getting more power, rolling Custodes, Sisters, Deathwatch, Grey Knights, Imperial Agents into Codex Inquisition. The problem with that, of course, is we already have the Adeptus Custodes Codex. Yeah. It's a way that they could have done it with the different armies. Right, that's all of them. I'm not seeing actually on this Games Workshop website any mention of the Knights. Not even there, so they're just totally forgotten. Like, hey, it's Warhammer 40,000, the Warhammer website. Do you want to get started? Don't buy Knights. Is that a subtle hint? Are they getting rid of Knights? We can't assume that. But I'll talk about the Knights next. The Knights. That can be my run into chaos. Where are we? Here we are, Imperial Knights. You win or lose depending on the number of las cannons and lethal hits the enemy army has. That's about it. It's easy to paint and get an army on the table. Okay, that's fine, that's good. But if you turn up and just put Imperial Knights on the table, that can upset a lot of players. I know there was some people in, I think it was the Discord, and also I've seen it on my comments. Do you tell people if you're bringing Legends units? Now, there's no requirement in this edition to tell your opponent that you're going to use Legend units, unless you're like, hey, I'm preparing for a tournament, or I have a competitive tournament list. Please, you know, be prepared for that. That's just good etiquette. Being like, if you're like, hey, I've only played like 2 games, or I'm totally new to this army and trying it out, that's also going to be useful so your opponent knows, oh, I can play something more fun and fluffy. Or, right, you're doing competitive tournament Black Templars. I'm glad I was warned of this. I will play competitive Black Templars. I'll counter that. Welcome to the channel. But Legends, you don't need to tell your opponent because they're not good. There's no Legend units I can think of that's like, oh, this is really amazing. Yeah. Yeah, you just tell people what you like, what kind of game you're expecting. That's just the basic stuff. Rather than, hey, give me a points number, and that's it. Usually I tell my opponent what army I'm bringing. Sometimes I just decide on the day. Or sometimes it's like, oh, I really need to try this out because I'm making a video about it, and about 150 people in chat will want to know what kind of video it's going to be about. So I have to be prepared for Genestealer Cult, but run a certain way. Something like that. I'm going to look more into Battle Sisters. I'm planning to do more Battle Sisters, like actual gaming. A lot of people only have one army. Yeah. Right, what else do the Knights have? Ah, yes, the weaknesses. You need Imperial Agents, depending on the kind of objectives you have. Anything that attacks you in melee ignores your big ion shields. You can take Bring It Down as a fixed mission, which upsets them. The Super Heavy Walkers, that's a special rule they have in their like army special rules. That lets you walk over enemy units, but you still have to end more than an inch from them. So it's not as maneuverable as you think, and you can still be pretty easily move blocked. If you don't have enough armor penetration, and you just have lots of shots, then your opponent has to suddenly switch tactics and be like, okay, so I just need to be on objectives and then die. If you're having a Custodes army, that's not very fun or viable. There's no Overwatch from Titanic units anymore, which really upsets the big knight that had the big flamer. And the terrain rules, depending on how they work, can make or break the entire army. As we saw at the start of the edition, where it's like, oh yeah, you can get just everything blocks line of sight. Then, oh, your towering units, if they're next to it, they can shoot through it. It's like, that's great. And be seen. It's still pretty great. But if the terrain doesn't let you move through it, if it's a terrain heavy board, and that's going to depend on what kind of tournament you're going to or not going to. I mean, if you're playing casually, you don't need to have that much terrain because you want both people to play fun. and for it to work. Yeah, if the Knights had like household troops, a solar auxiliary unit, that would work. Chaos Knights especially, because they have a lot of artwork with loads of cultists, like medieval dudes with swords and shields that look like Chaos Warrior Knights. That's good. That works. So the Chaos Knights are basically the same, but also they get Battle Shock. They cause Battle Shock, which can do next to nothing, I think, against most armies. So many armies are like, oh, I have such high leadership anyway, or I have different things that let me ignore that, like the Tyranids. They're Synapse. Does nothing if you're in Synapse range, because you're taking that leadership test on 3d6. And the Chaos Knights are relying a lot on Nurglings, which you can still take by themselves, because they're Battle Line and Nurgle. They are the ones doing all of the objectives. They're your Battle Line unit, so that can work if you're willing to max out on them. I think also the Carnivores, the smaller Knights, are also Battle Line, so you can focus on them. If you want to go more vehicle focused, you go with Vashtor and you go with the vehicle detachment in the Chaos Space Marines, or you can go the Fellhammer Siege Force in the Chaos Space Marine detachment. Yeah. Yeah, you got to be quite close to the enemy to do it as well. If they were Dark Mechanicus to work with the Chaos Knights, that could be good. But I think Games Workshop seeing, flyers are a problem, fortifications are a problem, really big vehicles are sort of a problem. Not so much for Imperial Guard, like the Bane Blade, Bane Sword, Doom Hammer, I think it is, which is high strength, high AP, and also a blast. That's good. Yeah, but if you got a 3+ save, no invulnerable save, you're relying on your toughness to save you. So that's what I have to say about the Knights. I should also mention the Titans, because there was, I mean, Games Workshop was made no kind of facade that Titans are playable. When it was some of the earlier tournaments in 10th edition, Stu Black was there and he was like, oh yeah, someone even brought a Titan. I mean, they're not going to win. And I would have really loved someone to say, why not, Stu? Is that person not a good player? What's the matter with bringing a Titan? They have rules in this edition. They have points in this edition. Are you suggesting that Games Workshop did not provide suitable points for this unit? Oh dear. Oh, what a thing to admit, Stu Black from Games Workshop. Yeah. Advice for Sisters versus Chaos Space Marines, since that's a new popular. I mean, melter guns will work quite well. Melter guns and bolt guns, because you need to be able to take out a lot of hordes, potentially. Yeah. Some mix of them. Melter guns are doing well. Flamers work. If you focus on the Holy Trinity as a Battle Sister player, that will do you quite well. Towering unit is a big problem. And this is for 40k, whose rule set really hasn't changed that much since 3rd edition, which was focused around having 40 models, and the biggest thing there would be a Land Raider. And that would be pretty strong to be putting a Land Raider on the table. Right, what have I got in the Chaos Space Marines? Actually, how many armies do we still have left? So we have the Chaos Space Marines, and the Death Guard, and the Thousand Suns, and the World Eaters, and the Demons. We've done the Sisters Admech, Grey Knights, Orks, Agents of the Imperium, Genestealer Cult. We've done Chaos Knights, Imperial Knights, Tyranids, Imperial Guard, Kroot, Tau. Also there, Squats, Dark Eldar, Eldar, and all the kinds of Space Marines. Yeah, we just have the Chaos factions left. Okay, good. I will just remind you again, at this time I have a Ko-fi, and if you wish to support me with money, now is a good time to do it, because it will pop up on screen, and then I can read your message. Also, the money goes directly to me rather than some part of it going to YouTube, which is, of course, an incentive. Right, so, Chaos Space Marines. There are so many ways to play Chaos Space Marines right now.
Just tipped 3 doubloons for the vampire.
Thank you very much, Bolga. That's very nice of you. And now I have a mustache made of blue money. So, Chaos Space Marines, there are 8 detachments. That gives you so much to work with, and it's specialisms. We have, like, all of the legions, apart from the ones that have been split off, plus Bashtor's stuff, plus Raiders, plus Chaos Cult. It's a lot. I think people are happy with the Chaos Space Marine Codex. I plan to try it out a little bit, maybe this coming week. We'll see. Still have so many games I need to play just to try out a bunch of stuff, especially if I want to do more videos about Chaos Space Marines, which I do, because I play them. Legionaries are really good. Chaos Cultists, we know the models are a problem, but Chaos Cult is looking kind of fun. Maybe not top tier meta right now, give it battle line, and then yeah, we're rolling. You just need a lot of cursed cultists. And, you know, cult communes. Terminators are also there. At the start of the edition, people were going, oh yeah, you've got to have Terminators with Abaddon. And I was looking at it and thinking, no, you've got to have Chosen with Chaos Lords. So I did that, and then Games Workshop increased the points. And now, I'm looking more at Chaos Lord with Legionaries. Much cheaper. Full rerolls to wound in combat against enemies on objectives. Characters like that. They really like that. We have a lot you can do. You can use the Horus Heresy models as well. You can use all the Firstborn models. They work. The Army Rule as well, where you get to pick your Dark Pact. It's optional to do it. And you can have lethal hits if you need it. You can have sustained hits if you need it. Lethal hits for Chaos Cultists will be very valuable with their very weak Strength 3 stuff. Bigger units are better. For the Chaos stuff, bigger units are going to be much better. Unless you want like 10 Cultists to hold an objective. Sure, you can also have some Nurglings instead. Just Nurglings. That can work. But bigger units, your Dark Pact will go further and you still take the same amount of damage regardless of the unit size. Very adaptable army rule. A lot of people like it. What's the drawbacks though? Very similar to Space Marines. Anything that's prepped to fight Space Marines, and I will say, tournament advice, if you look at only the top tables and who's winning, if you see, I need to counter Necrons and Aeldari and stuff, most armies, even at tournaments, are Space Marines or Space Marine adjacent, like Chaos Space Marines. So if you have a lot of damage to weapons, which you will want, that hurts Chaos Space Marines a lot. And do you remember when we were an edition behind on having 2 wounds? Start of 8th edition, we have the Primaris stuff, they have 2 wounds, regular Space Marines have 1 wound. Start of 9th edition, Space Marines get their Codex. All the Space Marines have 2 wounds. Chaos Space Marines still have 1 wound. And it was only... I'm trying to think, like 3-4 months before the end of 9th edition that Chaos Space Marines got 2 wounds. Yeah, it was not great. They could have updated at any time, really, but they didn't. So you can go Elite, you can go a Horde, you can go lots of Legionaries, which is working with their current points. You can go Vehicles, and you can go Demon Vehicles, or you can go Space Marine style vehicles. So there's a bonus way to run a Space Marine army. They have a lot of spikes on the models. If you fall over on them, it hurts. So there's that. Yeah. Spiky models. Not the best. Right, let's do Death Guard. Death Guard, they have plagues for every occasion. I think the best one is giving -1 to hit. It's, you know, area of focus, so tower less bothered, unless you're doing 3 of the 4 detachments that get up real close. But -1 to hit against rubbish troops like Imperial Guard, Genestealer Cult. Having demo charges that only hit on a 6+? Oh, no. You've just wiped out demo charges as an effective tool. Sure, they'll get sustained hits, but that's only if they come from Deep Strike. That's not great. Elite armies don't like it either. I was hitting on a 3+, now I'm hitting on a 4+. That hurts. Hitting on a 2+, now hitting on a 3+. You've halved the number of successes. Or, well, you've doubled the number of failures, is maybe a better way to think about it. So they have plagues upon plagues, as they also reduce the toughness. Anything toughness 3, like we said, Battle Sisters, Admech, Imperial Guard, they're wounded by bolters on a 2+. Their bolters are good, Deathwatch bolters are not. You can also have, like, lethal hits is their main thing. They're not tough anymore. So anything that beats Space Marines will also beat the Death Guard. They are slow. And unlike in 9th edition, where they had rules like, oh, we're never slowed by any special rule, which was when they started piling special rules on special rules, they don't have that anymore. Basilisks are the most hated thing for Death Guard players. Oh, my Terminator's now moved 2 inches. And it's damaged 2 weapons, which hurts all the Plague Marines. Their things are reliant on being modifiers, like -1 to hit, minus toughness. So if you have a stratagem, like the Battle Sisters do for Light of the Emperor, that ignores modifiers, there you go, you just turned off the Death Guard army. It's done, it's gone, it's no more. Then they're relying a lot more on other things. I did a video towards the start of the edition when they were doing very badly how to play Death Guard, focusing heavily on their vehicles, like this vehicle, which is fast. It counters the normal Deathwatch stuff. Their vehicles are very tough. Or you can go silly horde. Have loads of plaguey dudes. They should be getting in their codex a detachment that supports having loads of them. Or you can just play, you know, Chaos Marines. Use those models, which were quite cheap because they were in the 8th edition 40k starter set. And they've been in, I don't think, no, they weren't in the Imperial magazine. Were they in the Imperial magazine? I think they did get some models in the Imperial magazine. Or a similar magazine. So these Plague Zombies, pretty easy to get the models. You don't need to paint them that detailed. And they work really well as mutants in an Accursed Mutants and Torment army. I've never found Chaos Space Marines or, well, Death Guard have too much detail. Like all of the tentacles and all of the spikes. And the pipes and things, they can take a while to paint. Chaos Space Marines I found very easy to paint. Because it's spray them black, then do the trim. I like silver as a trim, other people do gold. Oh yeah, yeah. Battled Nurgle army as Necrons, and you left with all your units. I don't know if they're quite a stat check army, as they're just, yeah, it depends on your stat, on which particular stat you want to focus on. Ah, Warhammer Conquest. They were in Warhammer Conquest. They're quite expensive. Kind of, because they are elite Chaos Space Marines, generally. And if you want, then you can have just the Plague Marines, which are kind of fun. Sort of, if you can still take them in units of 7, in a Chaos Space Marine army. Other armies that are like, not regular Chaos Space Marines, don't get that. That's why I find it weird. I mean, Death Guard have the model range to be their own army. World Eaters do not. They're very sad that they have such a small roster. Easy to use, no, simple to use, harder to master. You put them on the table and you charge. There are stratagems and abilities and things that give you advance and charge. It can work. Their roster is pitifully small. Yep, there it is. There's their roster. That's everything. Because they lost when they became their own codex. No more Raptors, no more bikes. You can have Terminators, but not special Terminators. And you can't use any of the Chaos Space Marine units anymore. So you're playing Chaos Space Marines, but combat, which is what Chaos Space Marines are. If you look at Legionaries, full rerolls to wound. That's better than Khorne Berserkers. Since, well, 9th edition, I haven't taken Khorne Berserkers. The Khorne Berserkers I have are Legionaries with a Mark of Khorne. It works better. And the World Eater's army kind of relies on Angron. It's very much a carry me daddy kind of army. I want upsies and I want taking to the top tables, but if Angron doesn't come back, if daddy doesn't come home, you're not going to win. You can do a lot of Jackals, you can do a lot of Berserkers, you can try other stuff and a little bit of Khorne Demons. It's not doing as well. Would they add Chaos Sisters to the faction? No, I don't think they will. While they have confirmed for a while that they are sort of canon and that they exist, if they're giving World Eaters this smaller roster, they're not going to do Chaos Battle Sisters. Now, Thousand Suns, they have more ways to do it. They have more playstyles. If you like Zangors, there are more playstyles. Chaos Beastmen are an option. So there's your Chaos Beastmen. You can do a whole Zangor army if you want. It'll be funny to see if in their codex they have like a Cabal detachment, they have a like all is dust, just infantry detachment, and then a Zangor detachment. I think they'll do that. I think that'd be fun. I'm liking the way detachments work in 10th edition. It does give you a different way to play the armies, even if they're not always matching the orders and things that the armies have. So Battle Sisters, yes, we should have had 6. But do we have 6 ways to play? Because I was thinking of 5. Mechanized, yeah, lots of jump pack stuff, lots of combat, sitting more at the back with guns. Well, there's 4. You sort of have toughness, but Valorous Heart are just very similar to the Martyred Lady. They're tough, they go down hard. That's about it. That's a weird phrase. I shouldn't have put it that way. They die well. That's a better way to put it. Battle Sisters. Zangor detachment will be the best one. We know it, we know it. Yeah. I'm thinking for a lot of the Chaos things, maybe they should just be a detachment. Like how the Space Marines work. So yes, you have access to all the main detachments, and then also another one. Like the Black Templars. They can do Gladius, they can do Firestorm, they can do the other ones, First Company Task Force, if they want, and then also can do the Black Templars detachment. I think that Thousand Sons and others should be much the same way. It would give them more options. That sounds cool. Underwater Battle Sisters. Wow. With breathing apparatus. Valorous Heart would have just been 6+ Feel No Pain. Yeah, that's about it. Yes, that's another thing to not clip. Imagine if the Codex was Codex Zinch and had all the demons in it. Ah, that's a thought. Now, I'm just going to finish the Thousand Sons notes I have. So, lots of playstyles. There is the Psychic keyword on pretty much everything, which is a weakness this edition. Rituals are better for tournament play. Like, you can get really good with your rituals. On a casual level, they don't do so well. We have Ahriman, which has, you know, the ability to just do the best ritual, which is your clothes fall off, you have no armor save, you have no invulnerable save, now you are dead. I mean, that hurts Battle Sisters more than anything. They want to be naked the least of all because we have our armor save that we rely on. And our invuln save, if there's no armor save. Oh, it's a Hellboot. Hello, Hellboot. So I think Ahriman is the way to go. Magnus is doing quite well. Sort of. Towering model, depends on the rules. You're relying on him to do a lot. Thousand Sons can do well at tournaments. They don't do so well casually. When there was the weird thing where the Flamers of Zinch were the best unit ever, that was in 9th edition, very janky edition for power and things, they were even more broken than the Squats. And we know how bad the Squats were when they came out. Yeah. It's an okay army, but again, with being very elite, you've got the Psychic keyword, anything that beats Space Marines, it's damage 2, damage 3, we'll take these down just as well. I hope the Holy Trinity is good. I'm hoping it's the best one. I hope it's the detachment for me, and then I never need to think about the others ones. I will play the others, but that may be my go-to. Yeah, Cabals maybe could do a little bit of a rework. Maybe. Right. So, Chaos Demons, the last one. It's a weird one, as you can see. Is it one army or is it 4 armies? We have Slaanesh, we have Unlined, we have Zinch, we have Khorne, we have Nurgle. Are we playing one army or are we playing like 5? They don't mesh too well to get... Well, they have all of the tools between the 4 different gods to work. Whether or not they do work is debatable because then you have not as much synergy as you want Khorne characters with Khorne units. Now that does work quite well in 10th edition where you add a character to a unit, But this should be an army that's very easy to just give 5 detachments. Maybe 6 if you want multiple ways to play mass generic demons. There are a lot of tools for this army. But specializing, just unlike Khorne, loses a lot right now. You're doing close combat. You're kinda squishy. You need Nurgle demons to hold your objectives. If you want to shoot, you're gonna probably have to go for the Tzeentch demons. Especially like Flamer units. That's how it's gonna be. They have an invulnerable save that they rely on. Now I'm glad that invulnerable saves are working this edition, and that there isn't massive amounts of anti-demon just to be like, yeah, your army is gone, bye-bye. Cover is really common. You'll know because I did a video about how stupid cover is in this edition. But that means nothing to them. Oh, they get a 6+ cover save? 5+ cover save? They have a 5+ invulnerable save anyway on, like, everything. Almost all of the combat... Yeah, all of the different things that they have, like, yeah, Nurgle, Khorne especially, Slaanesh as well, they're focusing on combat. This is 40k. It's a game where you want to be shooting more than being in combat. So you want allied war dogs if you want to do some shooting. Yeah, you could do the 4 gods, hordes, and more swarmy thing. Yeah, 4 gods, hordes, big monsters, yeah. The detachment should be pretty easy, and one of them is like the Be'lakor detachment. You're absolutely right. Now, the benefit of buying Chaos Demons is you now have a full army for 3 different game systems. You have an army that works in 40k. You have an army on all your circle bases that works in Age of Sigmar. You have an army if you just stick them on a piece of cardboard for Warhammer the Old World. Great! Great! That's amazing. They're pretty easy to paint because you just need a spray can of the right colour. They could do more with lesser demons. Like, there's a couple of things in like Warcry, like weird chicken things, birds, furies. I was going to say furries, but furies. Yeah, maybe Games Workshop will mess it up. Maybe it'll be like, oh yeah, there's 4 detachments, and there isn't one for Slaanesh. Something like that. These are also one that could be split up into different Chaos factions or just put into Chaos. This is where like 8th and 9th edition work quite well as you have a faction army. So you are either Imperium or you are Chaos or you are Great Devourer, and then you can actually have Genestealers with Tyranids. Like the Genestealer Cult can go in the same army as the Tyranids. Age of Sigmar splits it up and wants you to specialize. So you have the Blades of Khorne, which is Khorne Demons plus Khorne Cultists. And some of them look a lot like Khorne Berserkers. So we're just finishing up the demon stuff. Then we have also your different army, which is a separate one for Tzeentch, a separate one for Slaanesh, a separate one for Nurgle, all with different special rules focusing on those particular detachments. Everything good live? We're not lagging? Good, 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 good. The demon army in 40k is weak to mass infiltration or mass deep strike, things like that. They want to get out onto the board to control them to get those like shadow warp expansion. Not shadow in the warp, but just the warp to spread the chaosy, demony warp stuff all over the place. They want to control objectives. If you have infiltrate to block it, then they don't do so well. It's kind of the same with Canoptic Court. If you can tie them up in their deployment zone, that doesn't do so well. Then you can counter that sort of by putting a lot of units in reserve. So if you know your opponent is going to do mass infiltrating or mass deep strike, just put some units in reserve. It's free. You just have up to like 25% of your army can go into generic reserves, not including things like deep strike. That can work as a counter to their deep strike. The moment you have a mission that removes objectives as demons, you're losing your rule. There's not really... Oh, I suppose there are ones like that for like the supply drop mission. But it's only the end of turn 3 that the first one disappears. And there's still, even at the end, like near the end, There's going to be 4 or 3 objectives left. Should be more demons. Yeah, Chaos Spawn. Giant Chaos Spawn, Spine Beasts. They're in Legends right now. They could just be Chaos Demons. Or, you know, generic Chaos Demons. Grey Knights can beat them by teleporting and countering their objectives and then purify them with their strike teams. I'm looking forward to seeing what I could do with playing Grey Knights. Well, playing Deathwatch as Grey Knights. I could see that happening. I have played Age of Sigmar. I really liked, well, proper first edition Age of Sigmar, second edition Age of Sigmar, third edition Age of Sigmar, I kind of dropped out. And fourth edition Age of Sigmar, looking at all the rules they're teasing, it looks so dense in the number of special rules you've got, and it's not as intuitive. It reads like a legal document. I do not want to see more legal documents. I've done enough of that on, like, jobs. So I don't think I'll be bothering much with Age of Sigmar 4th edition. Instead, I can just go play the Old World, because I have a Vampire Counts army. I have a Skaven army. I have a Dark Elf. I have a Dark Eldar, but also Dark Elf army that can work quite well. And isn't like, oh yeah, you're part of Cities of Sigmar, so don't play Dark Elves. But Dark Elves can be their own thing in Old World. And no tournament has ever said so far, for like the Old World, oh, well, these are Legends armies, you can't play them. They haven't said that for anything. And these are like official tournaments. No, you still play Skaven. You still play Beastmen. You still play Dark Elves at these tournaments. There isn't this thing of, oh, has to be Empire, has to be Chaos Warriors, has to be Orks. Yeah. So I'm having some fun playing the Old World, which is nice. Okay, we are done with that. Since I've been going for now nearly 4 hours with only one 5-minute break, let's go for a wrap up. So if anyone wishes to, either now or later, put some money in my Ko-Fi tip jar, that is greatly appreciated. It's that link in the description right near the top. It makes the money pop up on screen. Stream. Oh, only Warhammer World had that restriction. Oh, I don't know if they've actually done it, but yeah, everyone else has ignored the Old World stuff. Right, does anyone have any questions? And then I will think about later today, because there's still some time, sorting out the next video, which may just be out on, I don't know. I may be limited on how many videos I can do this week. I'm hoping that by the end of tomorrow, I'll have another video. Maybe I'll do a short one. Don't know for certain. The next video that should be done is a look more at the Battle Sisters, Combat Patrol, and Battle Force. But I have a lot more thoughts on that than I do on the Genestealer Cult one. So we'll have to see just how well it goes.
Kadri_077188 just tipped 10
Oh, thank you, Kadri. I hope you've had quite a good live stream. You've been here for several hours, so I hope it's been good for you. Thanks a lot. Ooh, 22% of the goal to survive June. Maybe it's because I had survived June and we're still in May. We'll have to see what's happening. Any tips for convert? Ooh, someone anonymously tipped £3. Thank you so much. I can send you a message thanking you on Ko-fi. Great stream. Right, so questions. So, any tips for covering neophytes, converting neophytes into chaos cultists? Generally, just painting an 8-pointed star on the shoulder pads is enough. You maybe want to do a head swap, but it doesn't have to be that bad. Well, it doesn't have to be that drastic. Any human head will work. And anything that's like the Acolytes, they can look okay as mutants or torments. The Aberrants maybe need a base size increase to look like torments, but think of a unit that's, and now I'm thinking of like Skinks and Croxigors in like Warhammer Fantasy, because they could be teamed up together. If you had Aberrants and Acolytes in the same unit, that's good. That's good. Will you make videos about Combat Patrol rules of the new boxes and how to play them? Maybe not. Maybe not, because some of them are fun, but they're pretty limited in their rules anyway, that I'm teaching you to play something that is designed there to teach you how to play. so I think I probably won't. And most people that buy the Combat Patrol boxes, at least in my community, do it for the models for 40k mainstream, not for Combat Patrol itself. I very much recommend the Combat Patrol missions, and playing at 500 points, you can get 3 or 4 games in. If you want to do a Combat Patrol tournament and set rules as, you don't have to use a Combat Patrol starter box, but you have to have at least one battle line unit, have to have at least one character, maximum 500 points, no unit can cost more than 200 points. That'd be great. That works. Thank you, someone else anonymously tipping £3. That's great. Thanks so much. 26% of the goal. Wonderful. Where can I find these Combat Patrol rules? If you go on the Warhammer community, if you go on the downloads tab that's at the top, which for some reason hasn't worked for me, and then Warhammer 40,000, there is in there, along with all the Legends rules, which doesn't include Celestians, Combat Patrol datasheets for all the current Combat Patrols, and if you have a Combat Patrol of the past, they've had rules, so they should be viable for the future. You're not prevented from using Combat Patrol things. It's also got the Combat Patrol missions right there for free. And I don't think there's anything else to say stuff. Yeah, Combat Patrol is quite fun. I like the idea of playing lots of games in one day. A lot of fun. I can actually play with knights. I guess. Agents of the Imperium leader and a Knight Armiger. 2 Knight Armigers. That could work. Wonder if Combat Patrol will get stuff from Spearhead in the future. Maybe. Maybe. The way they're doing Spearhead, I mean, it seems to be a smaller mat. No. Yeah. Yeah, it's like half the size board. I think. No, it's the same size board. Pretty small. Like the Hachette Combat Patrol magazine, you get like a 30-inch by 22-inch board. They're starting 6 inches from the center in that Spearhead Age of Sigmar thing. So you will be charging on the first turn. But the thing about Age of Sigmar, there is no first, there is no I charge so I go first, the way there sort of is in the old world, and there definitely is in 40k. You alternate all the time. So if you do 3 charges, one of them can be good. The other 2, less so. Yeah. Right. I am now definitely done with the stream. 3 Armigers and Inquisitor. Wonderful. There you go. There's a Combat Patrol. That would work in my rules.
Just tipped 5 great stream tonight, and I managed to build some converted guard while listening.
Oh,
Very
wonderful.
productive
I'm
all
so
round.
glad you got to build your guard. I'm glad you've had fun. Super glad you've had fun. Right. That's where I'm going to end it. So, I'm getting an echo. Now I'm not. Good. And I'm going to go, I don't know, probably have more tea. Another cup of tea is in need. Thank you to the nearly 200 of you that turned up for the stream. Thank you for the 100 of you that are still here. Yes, I probably can't record any more videos today because my voice will be strained. My darlings and viewers, have a great day of 40k. And a great week. And I'll see you soon. Button.